There was only one?
Missing dollar sign.
Oh, a missing dollar sign?
I can tell you I read it.
Okay, that's good. That tells me you read it.
I got it here.
Is that it? Yeah, okay. She found it too, so, all right. We will amend it on page number 6, that is 9A, I, okay? And ask that Ashley add that dollar sign. All right. Any other notations or corrections?
No.
All right, assuming there are none others, I think we're going to accept the minutes by acclamation. All right. We start right off with the capital request, and this is the road repair funding request, which
So page 8 of your
page 8
packet. It's a roads capital funding request. I did this request a little backwards this year. I'm requesting capital funds to resurface selected road sections in dates 1, 2, 9, and 13. I think most people were here in January. The board approved $220,000 in capital funds for resurfacing the roads. And those bids were due to open on June 15th. In fact, they did open, and the bids came in quite well. The bids came in within target. We're very satisfied with them. They also included bids that went to the individual 5 of the different townhomes or condominium associations for them to fund their own work activities for resurfacing their parking lots, or in the case of Whispering Cedars, for them to repair their road. The scope of work for this project involves doing the repair work in preparation for the micro sealing. So this fixes the potholes, this does the striping, this does the crack sealing. This has the roads completely ready to perform the work that would follow on to receive the new service. And it does our pothole repair. And we're also going to be repairing 2 ditches. Now in this particular project, we're outsourcing a portion of the capital roads vegetation effort, which our staff does in-house. We're going to actually outsource a piece of that this year because culvert and ditch repair is not in the skill set of our people. It's too easy to run into a buried underground line, water line, electrical line, gas line. There's an art to doing subgrade work, and that is not our skill set. We're going to outsource it. So I'm requesting a total of $82,757 total allocation from the roads account to fund this work. And in that, we would like to remove from the capital roads project, which we fund annually, $11,393 to fund the contracted effort for ditch repair. Ditches are the 3rd component of roads. They haven't been repaired. We're starting on it this year. I believe the best thing is to outsource that work. So this job is requesting the funds, preps the roads to receive a new surface, and then repairs several of the ditches for rainwater management. That's my request.
Okay. What questions do we have?
The $220,000 is in addition to that. That's a separate amount for the actual resurfacing of the roads.
That's the resurfacing, and it was $200,000 plus $20,000 in contingency. The actual award, I believe the contract came in at $150,000 plus, and then there was the construction management administration that was on top of it. So it is well within the target for doing both the construction administration and overseeing and performing the contract.
But the $82,000 is not included in that.
It's in addition to.
So that's separate. Why wasn't that?
Yes, we did it last year.
Okay.
Do the repair work on the roads and then get the road work done. We bid it out multiple this time because why would we go ahead and award a contractor that's going to do the surfacing work to charge us indirects on top of the work that they're going to do? So it's a lot more overhead work on the first contractor. So we awarded it separately. It's cheaper. We don't have to pay the additional indirects.
So let me just clarify so I'm sure what's happening. 757, aside from the 11,000 portion of it that is going for fixing 2 ditches, the other 71,000 approximately is going to do pothole repair and what other kinds of things? If I could just get a sense.
The rest of the work is going to be doing,
It's in here, I guess.
it performs the pothole repair,
Okay,
crack sealing, forgetting the 2 ditches.
okay,
So that's 2.2 miles of crack sealing, pothole repair.
okay.
We're also doing the pothole at a couple of large potholes that have, you might say, appeared in the association, one by the library. That's not going to be micro sealed this year, but we need to get it done. And we're repairing the parking area at the rotunda and repairing some of the potholes up there. It's not getting micro sealed, it's not getting resurfaced, but the area is deteriorating, so we're doing that road work, and that's in the scope of work.
So this is on our report.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, does this include all the potholes that we identified, or just for specifically the 2.8 miles that we're working with?
It's taking care of the potholes that we feel were the priority.
For the whole association?
For the association. There'll still be some, and once they start, they just spread and open up very quickly, which is why we do the crack sealing, to stop that.
I have a question.
Please.
I know we have this handout of the roads capital improvement plan. And for the, under column 2018, what items would be reflected in this capital request? What I'm seeing here is down toward the bottom of the first section of the spreadsheet, 32,000 for pothole repairs and 10,308 for ditch reconstruction repairs. And is that what this capital request memo is reflecting at a different dollar amount?
That's correct. Pothole repairs higher per year, surface complete, 32,000. Ditch reconstruction repair, 10,308. There is contingency on it, but the bids came in higher on the repair work, and we're also doing more. For example, the rotunda parking lot.
So this is a good example of, as we're projecting out a number of years in the columns, which I guess we're going to talk about later, the inaccuracy of these, the potential for inaccuracy in these predictions, and needing more money than what we.
In some cases, yes. The first line in that column, in road surfacing demonstration project, main roads, rotunda parking lot, access road, it showed $200,000, and the bids are coming in actually at a little under $200,000.
Right. Okay. No, so we'll talk.
There are variances
later, but I was just wanting to.
Okay, so now that we have the bids in, we're finding it's more than the 30.
Right.
We're not getting, we haven't got the bids in yet, right? Or do we?
We actually have the bids in here.
Okay, for the road, for the repair work.
That's correct. So
And
if
that's
you go to
why
page,
you're going to 82.
that's
Okay.
correct. So if you go to page 11,
Got it?
you will see,
Yeah.
actually, if you look at page 10,
Yeah.
you'll see the recommendation
Yeah, I
letter
see it.
from them,
Yeah.
saying here's the company we recommend. And if you
Yep.
go to page 11, you'll see the breakdown of the 2 different bids and how they came up. And so we're going with Blackburn, which was actually the lesser of the 2. Granite came in at about $7,000 more, $6,000 plus dollars more. So it shows the breakdown and where they were at on it. And this is not inclusive of the work that the condominium associations asked for.
Got it. So you're not requesting any funds for that, obviously?
No, I'm not. I sent that out to the condominiums yesterday,
Mhm.
to the condo association presidents, and asked them, what would you like to do? So far, I've gotten 2 of them that have said, we'll buy.
Okay. What other questions? Rick, go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand the 11,393, so where does that impact, you say you're decreasing?
So remember that every year we have ditches and swales and so forth, we have 102 plus escalated. We've been escalating it each year, so this year, however, we have about 150 because we couldn't keep workers to work on it last year. So we had leftover money that was 48,000 that went
What
into
is that
that account.
capitalized?
Would you flip
It
that
is.
over, please?
It is
And-
capitalized.
It is. Flip that over and go to the last one in 2018. You'll see ditches, culverts, and swales, 139,693. We're taking it out of that amount. See the amount? Ditches, culverts,
The
and
very
swales.
last line above the subtotal stormwater.
Okay,
That's where it's coming out of.
so you're gonna change that number.
I'm taking it out of that number.
Or has that
So
been
it's
taken
just
out? Because it
shifting
says
capital
139
from-
now. Or is that just that you've spent some already? Because
I
you started out at 150.
Haven't authorized it yet, so it's gonna come out of the 139, so that'll become
So
120.
you're just transferring it from one capital account to?
That's correct.
Okay, I just,
But it's coming out of that, because
Okay.
otherwise we would expect them to do the swales. Well, we're not gonna have them do swales.
I'm good with that, I just wanted to see where it was. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We don't even have a motion on it. So I suppose we ought to do that.
Yeah,
Start to
I'll
start.
make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Make a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve this 82,757 from the roads capital account for the 2018 road repair project.
Is there a second?
That's second.
Okay, thank you, Tony. All right, and so what other questions?
Hang
Yes,
on.
go ahead.
So that only covered part of this request, is that right?
I didn't hear that, Penny.
No, it covers all of it.
Well, there's a second part here that says that it's
Yeah.
okay to take the 11,393 out of the,
I don't,
that line.
I
That's
don't,
right.
that is true, but I don't know if we need that in the actual request because that's really just sort of an accounting.
I'm just telling you where I'm taking it from, so I'm not taking it out of the roads account.
Okay.
But I would like you to agree that it's the correct thing to do, transfer the money from that capital maintenance account to this, to the roads account, to expend the money on this contract.
So that is a request that we need,
Yeah.
I think we need to
I
have.
think you could amend that.
Yeah, you could amend it.
As an amendment to the
Recommendation.
to the motion that was just seconded, that we add the approval, we recommend approving the how would I say that?
The transfer of the
The
funds.
transfer of the funds from the culverts and swales, account, is that the
That
correct,
is correct.
correct term? To the roads repair, roads and capital fund, right?
For
For
11,393.
11,393.
Is there a second?
I would say.
And, but that's not the rest of the request is to include construction management taxes and the 20% contingency as well, right? So we just move to approve the request as per.
That's even better.
Okay, that's fine. Can we have a second to that?
A second.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
You took the work to
All right.
type it out, let's just go with that.
Yeah, all right. All right, so seconded by Eric, this is for Ashley's benefit, because she'll be taking the minutes. All right, so now that we have a motion and an amendment, first of all, those in favor of the amendment to the motion, please signify by raising your
I
hand.
want a clarification before I vote.
Okay, fine, sorry, go ahead.
What is the total amount now doesn't the 82,000 include the contingency?
Yes.
Total, every penny,
Contingency, yes.
82,757.
That's the
So the
total.
last line, then it says that the 82,000 does include all those things.
Everything.
Yes, it does.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Rick, if you look at page 11,
Yeah, that, I was there, I just wanna make sure.
it includes everything. Taxes, contingency, swales.
Good.
I have to
Do you want to make
things
sure
clear.
we know approving?
Okay,
Yes.
I'm good.
Okay. So, any other comments about the amendment? All right.
Let me clarify one thing. The 82,757, part of that 11,393 is coming from the ditches and swales. Is that how I'm reading this?
That's correct.
That's correct.
So it's not as though we're
So,
spending 82 plus 11.
Shouldn't even be in there.
This could have been rewritten.
Yes.
Yeah.
To have said something like 71,000 and some odd dollars allocated from the roads and 11,393 out of the
You
ditches
could
and
have, but if you
swales.
look at the recommendation, we're authorizing 82,757 total from the roads capital account, which includes the sub-account.
Right.
And it is a sub-account of the roads account.
That's correct.
So,
You don't even need to have it in.
well, that's why I said we don't really need it, but if everyone's more comfortable with that, I'm comfortable with it.
Association is more comfortable to be clear that the finance committee agreed. We're going to go ahead and outsource this to a contractor. It's a smarter move.
I'm not questioning that.
We all agree with it. It's just the wording for
82,757 is the total amount.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the floor.
I don't even know what the amendment is now.
The amendment now is to continue adding to the first part of that amendment. So it says first, the first part, which we've got on the floor, that's the main motion is that the finance committee will approve and recommend the board of directors authorize 82,757 from the roads capital account for the 2018 roads repair project, and that we approve 11,393 to be transferred from the ditches and swales sub-account to pay for that portion of it, and that it includes management, construction management taxes and contingency.
So another way to say that is the finance committee recommends that, to the board, that they approve the request as submitted by the GM.
That's one way to do it.
Which is, because it's written,
Okay.
which is what
Hold it now.
Colin's point
It's-
was,
that's
let's just read it.
All right, but we have, I hear you. I'm just saying that all we're doing at this point is approving the amendment. And the amendment was the second part, which starts with secondly, okay? That's it. If you approve the motion to be amended to include that, that's where we are right now. Are there any other comments about that?
Call
All
question.
right, call the question. How many are in favor of adding that piece to the motion? All right, it's unanimous. Now, are there any other comments about the motion that's on the floor?
Call the
Which
question.
is now the full one. Okay, those in favor of the full motion as written here by the general manager, please signify by raising your hand. All right, it's unanimous. Moving on. Thank you.
Next one is roads capital funding request, Southern Court. So, for those of you who do not know, Southern Court comes to serve 6 residences. We are working to close the road between Southern Court and Gate 5, which I believe we will be successful in doing because it is an incredibly dangerous road.
So you're talking
Southern
about
Court
the
Gate
top
5.
okay, the top of Southern Court goes into Gate 5, right at the summit. Now, there are 6 homes that are served by
Southern
a
Court.
road directly off of Watcom Boulevard,
Yes.
and that's where Southern Court is, and it goes up to 6 homes. If you go past the entrance to their little cul-de-sac, it gets extremely steep and very scary.
I've been on it. I assumed he was saying we were trying to close that part of it out.
That is what he's saying.
I am saying that, not in this job, but we will be trying to close it.
But he said Southern.
not all of Southern Court, just the top part of Southern Court, right?
Yeah, and
Access
that
from
is,
Lake Watcom Boulevard up to.
yeah, so what, this is not, this request does not concern the top part. Even though you brought it up, this is more about what are we doing with the bottom part?
Let's
Because we have
rewind
to
this
keep-
videotape and start again.
Start again.
All right, Southern Court is a 2-lane road without any significant shoulder. The roadway provides local access for 6 residences, and during winter conditions provides the only access to these lots. The section of roadway in question, about 750 feet long. It extends west from Lake Watcom Boulevard, and the slopes on the north side of this road are so steep, they range almost at 1 foot up for 1 foot vertical. They are near vertical. It is a very steep road. A tree fall resulted in a small landslide rockfall adjacent to the roadway during the winter of 16-17. and that small slide resulted in temporary loss of use of the road. And a lot of the debris that came with it filled the small rainwater ditch running parallel to this road. So the most recent geoengineering study that we have agreed to outlines several near and longer term mitigations, and the report is attached, and it is extensive. It calls necessary to protect the road. In the near term, we believe the hazard tree elimination and removing some remaining debris in the rainwater ditch are sufficient. However, in the long term, rock scaling will be required if we are to protect that road from being lost during a major rain. We would manage this project. We would go out for bids for the tree removal from our contractors. This is a multiple year activity. It's actually on this plan also. However, starting out now, clear the ditch so that we're not undermining the road or rutting it from water, and remove the near vertical trees or horizontal trees, which are even worse in this case, from pulling the dirt and rock down onto Southern Court. And that's what we're proposing to do in this phase of the job. If you would like to read the issues with Southern Court, the report is fairly extensive, and it goes into some rather good detail. Looking at page 23, you will see an actual gradient picture of the hazard ranking of the hillside as it traverses from Lake Lockton Boulevard up to where they would turn into Southern Court. And we are looking at some significant high hazard areas. We believe that the removal of these trees, but leaving the stumps, will, for the short term, several years maybe, at the most, alleviate the loss or the impact of risk to the road. It could still happen, but this will minimize the possibility, or will minimize the probability of this road coming down off the side of the hill. But it is going to take, in the long term, a decision on what we want to do to stabilize Southern Court. There are 6 homes up there, and it does have its issues. If you look on page 28, you can see a picture showing an example of a tree growing out of the side of the hill with very few roots that are embedded at the base. And this is an example of trees that are at high risk from rain. And again, page 31, you would see a more graphic picture of some trees that are growing straight out that have very little foundation. So when they get very heavy and wind comes in, they will come down and pull rock and debris with them.
So those 2 are examples of things that you would be clearing with this request.
Exactly.
We need a motion?
I guess, to me, there's a couple of questions here. I can make a motion to approve it, just so we have discussion.
Let's get the motion first, and then, yeah.
I mean, a couple of questions that I have is, first of all, that we have a long-range plan to deal with the situation, and second of all, is the pricing appropriate for this phase and this part of it?
Well, the pricing is a very good question, Rick, because we're going to have to go solicit bids on this one. And this is not your average everyday tree cutter. They're going to have to rappel down, tie off in place, and drop trees on a very steep incline. All right, and so this is going to take some interesting coordination between the 6 homeowners up there or other people trying to use the road and a tree cutting service that will be more art than it will be just brute force. Now, in the long term, going back to page 21, I believe. Yes. So going back to page 21, we have their matrix for hazard rating and what they believe the conditions are and how they believe scaling and removal can impact the slope in that area. Now, I have gone back and forth with the engineering team. We are somewhat adversarial. We've stopped them on 2 occasions, and I put the project back out to bid because we weren't satisfied. And no other company in northern Washington was interested in looking at the project. And so we had to then ask Wilson to broker a conversation between the engineering staff at GEO and us so that we could agree on very crisp definitions of goals and strategies. Because I felt that they have evaluated this project 3 or 4 times and each time come up with a different answer. So I'm very unhappy that it was an evolving story as opposed to, look, you're an engineer. I'm looking for an engineered solution and I want to know what the issues are and what the different solutions can be to resolve and mitigate those problems. And so we came up with this matrix and some proposals. Their next proposal estimated out here. I think I have it here. Southern Court at 136, no, 2 more. 90,000 in 2020 and another 136,000 in 2023. All right. It is a very expensive problem to resolve landfall, landslide issues on a vertical slope on a narrow road like this. We've got 6 members of the association that live there. I'm trying to find ways to not allow other building up in Southern Court. I do not think it is the association's best interest that more homes go up there.
What's the liability? I have a liability concern with this. We recognize that there's a severe problem with this road, potential.
Yeah.
What happens if somebody gets severely injured? Does that fall in association because we already recognize there's a problem? Or will our insurance cover that aspect of it?
We have $11 million in gross liability coverage, blanket coverage. We've identified a problem and we're attempting to resolve it. As long as we attempt to resolve it and we communicate what those issues are and we mitigate those hazards to the occupants, then we have done our job and we are fully insured to the extent of our insurance. If we do not take action, having identified hazard and someone gets hurt, the reverse would be true. I mean, that stands to reason, which is one of the reasons why I'm trying to minimize the amount of traffic on that road. There's a bridge at the end of Southern Court before it starts going up the hill, and that bridge is in terrible shape. The road going up to the back of Gate 5 is in terrible shape. It's dangerous to drive on. You can't see headlights in front of you. The bridge is shot. The road is in terrible shape. It's every reason in the world why the association can simply say, close that section of road because it's beyond our capability to fund and maintain. Here is a section of road that's going to be very expensive and it's going to cost, $300,000+ to resolve access for 6 homeowners. Well, they built there and the association owns the road. I think that we are obligated to do this repair. I do not think we want to expand use of that area.
I want to make 2 comments. First of all, for Ashley's sake, it was very quietly said, but Rick made the motion and Pam, Penny, yeah, seconded it. So we have a legitimate motion on the floor. The other thing I wanted to mention was that just as Mitch alluded to, the road above that bridge, which by the way has a sign that says proceed at your own risk. And,
Our attorney
no kidding.
agreed with the
And
wording.
you know, he took me up there, and Southern Court at the bottom made me frightened, and we were taking my car. And after we got past that
I was willing to drive
first
her.
part, yeah, I said, I'm not driving this. I said, you drive it up from here on, because it is scary. And I know there are people who go up and down all the time, so maybe you get immune to that. But it is a very steep road, and I don't think it's in our best interest, especially in the wintertime. There's no way we can maintain it. We cannot get snowplows up to that upper part. I mean, it's hard enough to get Southern Court, and so, you know, the lower part of Southern Court. So, yeah, this is, and if you go up there to look at it, I don't know if you've been to Southern Court, but it's a straight up look.
Well, I've been on it, it's got great views if you're up on the top, but I guess my concern is that recognizing the hazard of the situations that we have today, just like so many other things we have going on in this community, that we should have a long-range solution to an effort going forward, so that we're not spending money that a change in plans 2 years down the road.
Isn't that what this is?
I think that's what he's
That's
got
what this
here.
is.
That's what I'm assuming.
So that's what this is. Now, the difference is that at a certain point, after we do this and we watch the side of the road and how the hillside performs, part of us are disagreeing that driving spikes into the road and putting in chainmail and then pouring in concrete and stabilizing the side of the road, which is done up and down Lake Whatcom Boulevard and a lot of other places, is a solution. They're saying we don't think that that's the right solution. So they're the certified engineers of record, and I am not. This is not my engineering expertise, so I have to rely on it. But I could not get no other engineering company.
It's gonna make a statement of it.
All right, they're not willing to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
So right now, I think we do the first step, which is recommended by the engineers,
Okay.
before we go too far down the road, and they agree on the time frame. The time frame they feel is a safe time frame. But we continue to look at this and decide what is the best approach.
So bottom line is, this approach satisfies multiple potential approaches 2 years down the road.
That is correct.
We have to do this no matter what, because there's houses there, people live there, we've got to maintain the road there. Sounds like sooner than later, we should start the process of closing that road. I see what you're saying, I looked at the map here, and closing it in that gap, because that's where all the major expense is gonna come
That's correct.
down the road. And we should do that sooner than later.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's a homeowner that has 2 lots up there, and he gave us an offer. I accepted the offer, then he raised his offer, and I rejected his offer. And so if he doesn't want to sell, I'm just going to propose that we noodle out a road coming through Oval Court and block off the rest of the road with ecology blocks and say, there's your access, knock yourself out, we're still closing the road. And that we can legally do. So you can sell us the 2 lots, or we can just noodle it and say, here's your access point.
Where's his lots?
Up at the city. That's
Up
our
on
point.
your house.
Yeah.
Well, he can access it from
Or
over here, right?
he'll access from
None
the
of
top.
this has anything to do with the.
Yeah, that isn't the.
Okay.
part of our
No, it's
motion.
relevant to have to have a better feeling
Yes.
about where we're going long term, like,
Mhm.
okay, we need to do this, yeah, I get that, but then,
Yeah, the lower portion, we have no choice. That's the only access, the absolutely only access that these 6
Yeah.
individuals have.
Yeah, because the backside of their houses goes straight down to,
Yes,
down to Boulevard.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no danger on that side.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, but there's also no
There's no
access.
there is no
Yeah.
access, and there is no other way to get a road up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're not coming up through area Y.
So is this enough risk mitigation?
It's sufficient.
This is what the engineer is recommending, and that's what we're
So can you
gonna go.
tell me where that recommendation is in this documentation that you have to support? Because I got lost, because honestly, this table on
Page 23,
whatever it is,
21.
page 21,
Yeah.
I had no clue how to implement that. So, I'm sure there's some meaning there. I just couldn't figure
Yeah,
out
it's hard
how
to-
that related to the request that you're making. And so I wanna make sure that we have clearly some documentation that says that this mitigation is sufficient for step one.
Page 17.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Oval Court is kind of top, is that right?
I'd be happy to go through this map with you on a separate conversation. That's rather sensitive, actually.
It's sensitive. Okay.
I'll defer to the treasurer.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it. I wouldn't talk about the specifics there. What we have is, we have a number of people who live up there who prefer and have on occasion gone through the upper road. And at this point in time, we don't have any plans to close it immediately. But we've been advised by our attorney, if I recall correctly, Mitch, correct me if I'm wrong, to heavily sign it. And in other words, put signs out that warn of the danger of traveling the road. In the wintertime, we actually close that road, the top of the road.
Yes.
Because we can't maintain it, and it is extremely dangerous, so we put barricades up. And even with barricades up, people will go through the road, and we had to pull at least one out of the ditch we had
to pull two cars that went over.
Yeah, I just asked what the highest elevation point was.
Oh, the highest.
That's all I
I'm sorry.
asked. I said, what's the highest elevation point?
I have
Is
no
Oval
idea.
Court at the top? Is Oval Court at the top over there?
I believe it.
Oval Court entering.
Yeah, I'm not, obviously we can't just close the road. I'm saying it looks like based on the cost, we need to have the discussion. And, sooner than later about what we should do with such a court.
Recommended mitigation, Kenny, on the
Yeah.
bottom of 17.
So I'm confused, apparently.
So figure
So,
two.
So is removal of trees and scaling? So it's the removing hazardous trees, removing soil and scaling rock?
So it's their opinion that a significant reduction in rockfall risk can be accomplished by removing hazard trees, removing soil,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
scaling rock from the
That's what
area.
I'm interested
That's
in.
correct.
So,
All right?
the addition, so that's what this
No,
covers?
I'm only going for trees at this point.
Okay, because that's not what they say.
No, they would like you to do all of it right now.
Okay, so that, back to,
I guess what you're saying, or my point is, it's hard to prove something with a recommendation that isn't more specific as to what we're approving. Because to me, it looks like the recommendation goes back to this page 17, recommended mitigation.
so that, I think it's, I'm just following on the question that Paula asked,
Is it enough?
is it enough?
Yeah.
And because I didn't get that was what this was.
Is it sufficient if we don't fully implement their recommendation for risk mitigation?
So on the top of page 18, we recommend that rockfall hazard be mitigated in areas identified in table 1 and shown in figure 2. We understand available allocated budget may limit the extent of tree removal and scaling to less than the entire recommended length of road. Limiting the removal of existing material along the toe of a slope may be one way to reduce all. All right, but it may be, they're going to give themselves every different way they can to say you should do the entire job. But in discussion with them, they agree, and our engineers agree, that the first step would be reduce the torque on the side of the hill by removing the trees that would be the fulcrum for pulling rock and dirt down from a windstorm in a wet environment.
So the last paragraph there, removing debris at the base, is part of what you're doing here.
That's correct.
Okay, so they're saying we can mitigate issues by doing this, not mitigate issues, mitigate the impact if an additional fall comes.
That's correct.
And so you're recommending that based on conversations that you've had with them, that we start with the trees, we clear an area down the bottom so that should that not be sufficient, at least we've got potentially an area for rockfall to fall so it doesn't close the road or further damage the road. And then evaluate where we are and potentially go back and do the scaling that they're referring to in the future. Is that a good summary?
Certainly. This doesn't go into detail that underneath that ditch is also where they get their electrical power. So certainly large boulders falling in the ditch could go ahead and cause a short to ground and they could lose their power. So we could sand bed it, and they recommend doing that. Now, if I sand bed the ditch, I don't get the rainwater. It's a pretty complicated problem.
Got it.
Well, they also say later on about possible,
From New Jersey barriers.
and all that stuff. So is there any other ditch work, is it just trees and debris, and then we see what happens, is that kind of what we're?
Pretty much what I would recommend at this time. Let's take the torque off the side of the hill. Let's clean out the debris. And, it said you still might have rockfall,
Right.
right? You chose to live in this area. We're mitigating it. And I believe I'm going to have to also write a letter and pass this report over to each of the people who live up on Southern Court to say, here's what's going on.
Mitch, if I read this correctly, in 2018 on this sheet, we have $9,785 as well as $15,038. The bid that you've received, the bid that you received for this, is this a bid?
I have no bids.
We don't have a bid, so
Those
you're
were
estimating.
estimates.
So is
That's
that including, then it comes to 24,823, if we add taxes and 20% contingency, sounds to me like that comes pretty close. Is that where you got the number 32,320?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So just for my sake, normally this spreadsheet is created by Wilson Engineering and is their recommendation for us as to what to do each year.
That is correct.
So even though the geoengineers document here does not say specifically what should be done this year, and Wilson has talked to them, and this is their recommendation as to which portion to do in 2018.
You are stating that correctly. If you remember going back to the earlier conversation on this, I said that we were not satisfied with some of the work from Geo, so we hired Wilson to sub and manage them. And so therefore, they extracted what they felt. When I said our engineers, that's Wilson. They extracted what they felt from the Geo report was an acceptable first step mitigation, which they show in these two numbers, followed 2 years later by the next one, and then 3 years later.
So this is Wilson's interpretation of the geoengineering.
With Geo's concurrence.
Got it.
So they feel the risk mitigation is sufficient to hold off on the 136, 122 till 2023.
That is correct. Understanding, you could have a huge landfall up there tomorrow.
But this would be, with that recommendation, we could comfortably say that there's sufficient, that makes me feel more comfortable with this. I
It
think
is a
sufficient
sufficient
risk
mitigation
Okay.
to be able to take this in an intelligent step process.
It's not our definition of sufficient, we have an engineering firm that feels
That's
that's
correct.
sufficient as well.
So-
I'm sorry, when I say sufficient, I'm speaking as, an engineering manager. It's a sufficient mitigation.
So, but we don't have we don't have anything in writing from them. on that. Is
Well,
that
this
right?
doesn't have their
Or is that-
opinion.
is
This
that-
is it. This is theirs.
Is that? So we,
I think I'm comfortable with this. They're not
Got
going to
it.
give me something saying in hard fact,
I
this is
got
the
it.
way it's going to go.
I'm just clarifying that we don't have anything in writing specific just to this. We're using this as the overall master plan as part of that recommendation as to what to be done.
That's correct.
And we have documentation that this is provided by Wilson,
Got it.
which goes back.
Okay. All right. So I'm catching up here. So thank you.
There's one question on the numbers. So I heard what you just said spreadsheet don't include
Contingency. they
taxes and
include taxes.
contingency? Not at all.
Why wouldn't they include sales tax?
This,
Because
I'm gonna
most
get into
designs
this
have
sheet
those.
later,
Yeah.
but this sheet is their direct cost sheet.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
clarifying on.
That's correct.
The
This
sheet
is
that
a
we're
direct,
looking at.
this is what they believe are direct costs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we get the call question.
If there are no further questions,
Call the question.
yes,
Call question.
those who are in favor of approving this particular recommended $32,320 from the roads account to fix Southern Court landslide mitigation for this year, those in favor, please signify. Okay. It looks like that was a yes. Not a very enthusiastic
It wasn't
one, but
enthusiastic.
okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. The next one is a little more interesting, or
yes.
less interesting, but maybe more enjoyable. We have the next one on page 38, which is a capital roads funding request for a section of Grandview Lane Road, we call it 124 Grandview Lane Road. And so we're asking for capital funds to mitigate damage that has occurred. The road is old. The section of Grandview Lane that connects an address 124 Grandview to the main roadway requires significant repair. The roadway and driveway are now beyond repair by overcoat. We're just not going to micro seal this. Both sections equally require leveling and a 2-inch overlay. The section of roadway is not on the association's repair plan. It has been privately maintained by the resident at 124 Grandview Lane, which I'm just going to refer to as the owner. And he's been doing this for several years, doing the culvert, he's been taking care of the road, he's been taking care of his own issues. The owner independently sought multiple bids from 3 contractors to repair the entire section, the driveway, which he owns, and the road, which we own. And then he contacted the association seeking to share the cost to do this repair. Now the road and driveway both requiring the same effort, the percentage split proposed is 1/3 him, 2/3 us to do the entire job. And so we're requesting $7,387 allocation from the roads account to fund our 2/3 share of the $9,235 best bid presented for the 124 Grandview Lane road work. And this includes taxes and a 20% contingency. We will not hire a construction manager to oversee a small job like this. So attached to this, you will see the drawing on page 39, and then also the bids that he received from 3 companies, WRS, Granite, and Lakeside. I then sent the 3 bids when I received this from the owner to Wilson and said, I believe I have an opinion on what I think is best value, and what do you think? And the owner wanted to believe that WRS was best value, and I don't know that I agreed actually. No, WRS was not best value. So we went back and forth and got an opinion on best value. And the owner has agreed he would pay his share if we do ours. So
And Granite is the one that you decided was the best value?
that is correct. Now, looking at the map, 15 is his property. And the section along the left of 15 in blue is mostly driveway. And then the rest of the section to the road is ours. So he's doing a section that goes onto his land and the driveway down, and then we're doing the road. the map is not accurate in that the section that he's doing is 10 feet and ours is actually wider. The roadway section is wider. And so that's when we had a discussion on what was best value. I didn't print that document. We went out and looked at it and said, no, his section was not as wide. His driveway wasn't as wide as the road. At any rate, why do I think that we should do this? It's not on our repair schedule, but the fact that a homeowner needs it and they're willing to share for share of the price to get our property repaired also, I think is a very, very good incentive why we should go ahead and do this project. Any homeowner that says, I'd like to cost share to get some work done, I think is a win-win for everybody.
Also, you and I talked about the fact that this would probably come out of the fast response monies that we've set aside.
That's correct.
So if you look on your spreadsheet here, there's a section in gray, blue, grayish down under stormwater improvements. And in 2018, we've set aside $76,491 for unforeseen situations. So it wouldn't be taking any funds away from other road work. It was just, this would just be one of the things that we didn't anticipate.
We have emerging projects every year. We set aside money for it. This would be an emerging project.
Was this the same area where we looked at a number of years ago where water was flooding different sections?
That was on the other side of Rankin.
Okay, but it was on Granby.
It was.
Okay, so we need a motion to discuss this.
I make a motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Tony has made a motion to discuss, or to approve the $7,387 from Roads Capital for the 2024 Granby Lane. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kenny. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns about this one?
So this is, in front of 16, this is 7 Valley Road up until it starts
This is all us right here.
to here.
That's it.
And that's just,
Of course, it's not as fully wide. That's just the plot of land. The road base is much narrower.
His is narrower?
His is
than ours.
narrower.
Yeah, makes sense. So he's still willing to pay a third.
I think it's a generous offer on the part of the,
Yeah, I don't
this is an
know.
action-oriented request from
Yeah,
a road owner that is like, well, let's support this project kind of thing, so I'm in favor of it.
Call the question.
Yeah.
okay, those in favor? All right, unanimous, thank you.
I believe the last request I have was discussed a while ago. Clearance lot auction. This is a change order. The project is closed. This is DVR funding for additional costs associated with the March 18 clearance lot auction. I think as everyone here knows, we conducted a clearance lot auction in March to sell the association's excess buildable lots and excess ULIDs. In January of 18, the association management, we forecasted preliminary expenses at $73.55, which included fees, advertising, security, staffing. And that although we anticipated we would not sell all the lots, the total and final sales we thought would be in the $30,000 to $45,000 range. When we sold 19 lots, we transferred far more ULIDs and removed far more liens than we expected. We had told everyone at the beginning of this, as part of the sale, that if you buy a property from us, even though we have liens on our own properties, if you buy it, we'll remove the lien after it sells. We're not going to remove the lien before it sells because we don't need to incur the expense. And if it doesn't have a ULID on it, well, we're not going to put a ULID on it before the auction, but if you buy it, we'll transfer one of our ULIDs and put the ULID on it after you buy it. Well, we sold a lot more lots than we expected to. So we're a victim of success here. So 2 additional areas incurred expenses greater than planned: advertising and the auctioneer. We decided as we were approaching to double our advertising, and we sent every member 2 postcards informing them of the event and where to obtain information. And then lastly, right at the end, we discovered that We had to have a licensed and bonded auctioneer. It was a legal requirement. We didn't think we needed to. We were surprised. So on the day of the auction, 26 individuals were registered to purchase and 23 actual bidders participated at the auction. Of the 20 lots advertised, 19 were sold for a total sales of $94,500. Of the 9 U-lids offered for sale, none were sold. And I'm right now saying that I'm really glad that that happened, and I'll tell you why later. The following day, a member did purchase 1 U-lid at the auction, and so we sold it to him for the starting bid of $900, plus the $250 water district transfer fee. We also collected an additional $15,205 in prepaid dues. We required that everyone that purchased a lot would pay 1 year dues in advance. And we did that because people in the last recent memory have said, oh, I didn't know I was buying into an HOA. We wanted to make sure there was no lack of clarity in this area. And so we charged 1 year of dues up front. So in total, the association received $110,605 in revenue. And the cost for the event rose to $8,281.03, which was $926.03 above the allocation.
Okay.
So we're requesting $926.03 allocation from the UER to be approved to fully fund this auction.
Okay, I need a motion.
I move that we accept the recommendation.
Okay, second?
Is written.
Second. Thank you, Paul. All righty, Rick made the motion, Ashley and Paul approved. Okay. So, any questions, concerns, thoughts about this one?
It just seems like we discussed it at the last meeting.
We did discuss it. I think that there was, there had been some questions about it, and we wanted to make sure that the information got out about why it was different than what was actually. So here now it's actually old business, and unless you have further questions, I think we probably can just vote on it. Good? All right. Those in favor? All right. Approved.
I would like to discuss the retaining wall. It's a discussion point. This is the retaining wall at the clubhouse. The retaining wall, shoreline permit is being approved. The building permit is in. What a long process. We do have an updated bid from the low bidder, and I will not ask for him to formally sign a bid and ask for additional funds till the actual building permit is in our hands. Because right at the end, they can put in an additional requirement, and that would change the bid. So I want the building permit in hand before I come in to ask for the additional funds. All right. Yeah, I believe actually we'll have that permit in hand next week.
Good. All right.
On the barn 8 stairs on outside the store, the permit was approved. No shoreline permit was requested, as the county had said that they would not request a shoreline permit. So we have sent the design to all of the contractors that are working here in the valley on the pool and the marina and all of our other projects. And we sent it to them a week ago and said, how about a bid?
Mm-hmm.
So they have the stamped drawings, and we're waiting for them to give us a bid.
I know that you had approached some people last fall about this, and we weren't getting any success in bites. Do you think the people who are here already working will?
If we don't get a bite or we think the numbers are wrong, we'll go back out to some of the local contractors now that we have a building permit and a complete design in hand and ask them if they would like to bid.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
I know it's a small project.
it's a small project. The board approved $25,000, and at this point we haven't spent $2,000. And so, okay, let's see what the bids come in at.
Okay.
We're not going to award until we get bids.
Okay, thank you.
Will that be open for junior golf camp in 10 days?
I doubt it, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
we'll
gonna
have
be,
the
we'll have to
same
make
one.
sure we
So
follow.
you'll have that door and then the stairs that come down
Yeah.
front. I wanted it, but I don't think it'll happen.
just so people know that.
We'll just make sure, that it happens.
We've been talking to Brian about it.
All right, thanks.
Is there a deadline on the bids?
You know, Danielle's on vacation, and I spent a lot of time with Melanie. I spent my whole morning at Wilson this morning, and she did confirm that all 4 contractors received it, but I did not ask her. Well, I did ask her, she did not have an answer if there was a due date. I will push for that. But money on the table, they bid. They don't want to bid, they'll tell us. Rebaseline Barn 6 project. This is in discussion. Yesterday afternoon, was working with PMW, the project manager, and I did not agree with some numbers they presented to us for what was the current cost of the total projects between the 2 pool jobs, the marina, fire pipe, the rebuild of the spit, and the more challenging one, the Area Z project, the Barn 6 new tent structure. And so I spent my whole morning with Wilson because we want to re-baseline that and stop calling it the Barn 6 project and call it the Area Z project. Anyway, as of right now, we are currently $48,000 positive on contingency. The rest of the projects are tracking, the design is tracking, the pool project is tracking, and we have had to issue some change orders and some directive change orders. We had to buy some additional permits we didn't expect, a conditional use permit at Area Z, and but we're sitting at $48,000 positive. And so that's where I'm at, and I think probably by the next finance meeting, I'll actually show you, here is the spreadsheet, the tracking spreadsheet for each of the projects, and all the change orders and where we're at on contingency, but we're sitting at 48,000 positive. All right, and Jennifer was in the office today, so we spent a few minutes talking about it. We expect our draws to start in July on schedule, so the cash flow is moving as we projected. A little higher for some of the permits, but the rest of the work is unfolding as we expected.
Okay, could you, before you go further on that, Penny's a little bit new, so can you?
New?
Well, to the committee.
Oh.
And so I wanted her to understand, we secured a loan for completing 1.125, yeah. And the condition of the loan was that we would spend X amount of our own reserves before we actually drew on the loan. So that's what he's talking about at this point. We think we will begin doing the draw because there's a lot of work that's being done currently, and we're expecting that invoices will start coming in July or August.
They're coming.
So we're going to be spending our money and then spending the bank's money.
We have a cash flow projection. It's within tolerance on a cash flow projection. The work is proceeding on schedule. The pool should be ready for occupancy for use by July 15th. They'll be finished by the end of this month, but they have to cure for 2 weeks. So as the pools are curing, I'm sure the heat will pick up and people will want to be jumping the fence, but no different than everyone else. But we're watching, and I really want to deliver those pools on July 15th. But the project is performing at this time.
Good. Questions? Anybody got questions? Okay. So when you said re-baseline Barn 6 project, what is entailed in that?
Well, originally, if everyone remembers, or for those of us who know, we were going to tear down Barn 6, purchase a tent, put the tent up, a sprung structure tent, on top of the foundation at Barn 6. Then we discovered that the contamination, long 30-year problem of contamination at Area Z, was in much better condition, and a good significant portion of Area Z was no longer deemed contaminated. So there was no reason to put it up at Barn 6 because we always wanted to put it up at Area Z. We don't want to build a corporation yard in the recreation corridor. So we decided, let us change and put a foundation up at Area Z and purchase the same sprung structure and install that at Area Z. So we're turning barn 6 demolition into an additive alternate, meaning if we have the money available at the end of the project, we'll take the building down. Meanwhile, we're going to put up a very large foundation at Area Z, and it's a hunk of concrete because apparently a tent can become a kite. And
For sure.
With our windows.
yeah, so it's a big piece of concrete, and then we have to do some road modifications and some rainwater management issues, and we're going to be installing it at Area Z.
But in the end, it's cheaper than putting it first at barn 6 and then at Area Z.
And then dismantling it and then putting the foundation in and reinstalling it. So, yes, we went through that. So, it's no longer practical to say, okay, this is the barn 6 project. So by the next finance meeting, I will have a proposal showing that we're doing a change order on the project and saying, it's not this, it's now this, and let's agree on it.
And the bank has already agreed.
Great, bank said, knock yourself out, we agree with you, it's a smarter move. It's a good use of money.
Can we label it with whatever we're gonna call the tent?
We were thinking of calling it the Area Z storage structure. So
I'm just saying,
coming up with a new name. So that's,
whatever the long-term name for that
and the bank was fine.
asset is gonna be, I
The
think.
bank said, you can call it the White Building, you can call it the White House, we don't care,
Okay.
right? Pay us.
I'm just saying, I think we need to communicate all of these things we've got going on and how we got there to the community so they understand. I mean, I think you know, we went out and got a loan and dedicated certain funds out of SURF for multiple years just so we could keep these things alive. And I think we haven't done much in the way of communicating those things to the community recently. So we ought to come up with whatever that name,
You know, we've
Barn
received,
10.
we've received a tremendous amount of phone calls.
No,
The Clark Kent
facetious
building.
with that.
You're fine.
no,
No.
We've received a tremendous amount of phone calls because we had to do what's called a conditional use permit.
Right.
So a conditional use permit is, it's a very expensive permit. It's a permit to say, this is what we're gonna use the property for. Now, the county had told us a long time ago, we were going to agree that we could put up different buildings and use it because it was a existing non-conforming. And that's what it is, it's an existing non-conforming use. So they said, well, okay, what would be your total use of the facilities of Area Z? So we said, well, you know, in the long term, we could see another maintenance building. We see this building, we're continuing to use it for clean green, we use it for storage, we use it for all these different purposes. And we might knock down the maintenance building, or we just might gut it in the future and put our golf carts in there. So when you're gonna do a conditional use permit, you put everything down that you think you might ever do in the future, because it's very expensive to do it again, to do it once. So we've gotten a lot of phone calls from people saying, are you building a second building? No, we're getting a conditional use permit, and in the conditional use permit, we tell them everything you possibly do in the future that you might want to do. I've been listening to a bunch of goofballs on the internet saying, oh my God, they're building a second building. No, we told them every possible use we could have in Area Z down the road, because it's cheaper to do it now than it would be to get another conditional use permit. So that's what we're doing.
and they're sending letters out to everybody in Sun Valley because they want to, I'm closer than 1,000 feet, I'm further away actually than 1,000 feet, but I still got
Oh,
letters.
yes,
so-
a lot of people have, and so we've gotten phone calls, and we have a little standard thing saying, oh, it's a conditional use permit, and it's a, you know, what could you do in the future in this area? But we're putting in the tent structure in Area Z, and that's what's going in there. Now, you know, we're not building the Batcave, you know, we're not doing anything else. The board approved putting in a tent structure, which is what we're putting in, and that's what we're doing. But we're using the process to save us any future funding issues. Should we decide, okay, want to do a maintenance building now? All right, fine, we've got permission to do it.
Would there be some value in putting out an e-blast to cut down on the rumors and possibly the phone time that you might have to have in heading and discussing that with people.
I think it's a very good idea. Part of the cool part about this is that it's giving us a lot of opportunity to engage with a lot of members of the association, which has been kind of enjoyable, talking to them about what's going on because they're concerned. And that has been very positive.
Yeah, that is
Right?
good.
That's a very, very good thing. But I believe putting on a D-blast at this point is really the appropriate thing to do. It's just being mindful of use of our money and making sure that we're not spending money in the future that we don't have to spend.
No, and that's a good point. I think it's refreshing to hear people calling to ask. So I think that's actually nice to hear.
So that's currently, so the rebaseline. So we're going through this. We updated our our total project cost sheet today. And that's where we're at, 48,000 holding on contingency. And we'll watch.
Okay, perfect. All right, then we will start to hear a new term for that project once you've settled on the final.
I feel like the Batcave. I'm totally,
No.
Multi-purpose
I will
maintenance.
object to that.
I think that'd be fun to talk about the back cave during finance meeting.
Yeah,
to the Batcave, everyone. Okay,
sure. Yeah.
we're going to probably call it the Area Z Storage Building.
Okay. Love it.
So last item I think that I have.
No, you have two items.
Two items.
Last item, or next item that I have at this
Yeah,
point.
remember the clubhouse air conditioning?
Oh, yes, is an updated fee schedule. So
Yeah.
what I'd like you to do is take a look at this item that is in page 46. And from the Sudden Valley Strong people, they came in with some proposals to ask us to change our rates, which we have here. And I would like you, it's a lot of information, so I would like the board, or I'd like finance to look at this for a while. But let me give you their thought behind it. They wanted to offer multiple different tiered rates, and I was against it. But we did say, well, why don't we work on this? If you live here in the valley, but you're not an owner, you're a member of the valley. So you'll see a phrase in here saying non-owner, right? So day use family, non-resident, non-guest versus non-member versus, a member. So we tried to incorporate everything that they gave us, trying to come up with an appropriate pricing policy that was legal. It allowed non-members access. It showed a rate to them, but it incentivized people to go for season passes as opposed to day use and monthly use. We also have decided that the smartest thing for us to do is say we're going to cap the number of non-resident membership season passes at 24, which we think we will be able to legally defend. That's 20% capacity of the main pool.
Okay, that's just for the pool, then.
That's the main pool. That's the issue here is the main pool. Not worried about the gym. It's the main pool.
Okay.
And we also believe that an individual should be able to bring 2 guests, but a maximum household per day is 6. So someone couldn't show up and say, hi, they're with me, and they have 14 friends with them. I'm sorry. This is how this is going to work.
They will pay, they can't not come. It's not that they won't be able to come in, they just have to pay for the.
That's correct.
Individuals, okay.
At what point do you say, yes, this is open to members? Okay, come on, bus back, bus backs up. Everyone, let's go. We're playing at the pool today. Wait a minute. Maximum guest group per day is 6. So, maximum 6 is a big item in here. For day use, we're going to paper passes. We're setting our gym, adult supervision. The gym plan is just about done. I think Maddie will have, those of you who have not met her, please do stop by the rec office and introduce yourself. You'll find her to be very enjoyable. Really quite an engaging, intelligent, and articulate individual. So here's our proposed rates compared to current fee schedule, and we compared them Sudden Valley to the YMCA to Armenia. And then on the green far right, it's the proposed rates. So this is mostly with a lot of input, a tremendous amount of input from the Sudden Valley Strong Group.
I have some questions about the layout. So the far right green column, it says proposed rates, SVCA. Who would be responsible for paying those rates? Not SVCA,
Non-members.
non-members, okay.
Oh, well, for example, wait a minute. Notice room rental. We still rent rooms. So there's a member rate, and then there's club rentals, and there's non-member. Privy is not correct. Private would be more correct. But member-led classes, non-member-led classes. So if you want to rent a room, unless the board tells me no, rooms are free now, I have room rental rates in there. And room rental rates have always been in here. And then main pool and gym fees, and then adult pool fees below that.
So these, I'm confused because
It's SVCA residents, right, is what it is? Non-members,
Non-members.
non-member residents.
No, non-members, you could be a Bellingham resident and come here.
so the
Okay.
green column on the right is for non-members.
That's correct.
So the members of the community are free.
Wait.
Oh, wait,
Uh,
wait, okay.
On the pool and gym fees,
Yeah,
that is non-members.
got it.
On the adult pool, those are non-members. The top box is for rec center fees, excluding the dance barn, for room rentals, party rentals, club rentals.
For anybody, whether they're
Member or not.
member or non-member.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, you want to have a sit-down conversation with your friends, and you're walking through the building and you see an empty room, you are welcome to go in there and sit down and enjoy yourself. But if there's a scheduled meeting, they're coming in and you're leaving. You want to go hang out at the marina and sit over at the one of the shelters, enjoy yourself. But if there's a scheduled party, they get the room.
So what this does is reserve that space for the hours you want.
That's correct.
So do we think that because the pool is free for members, owners, that we will see a significant, I think we'll see a significant increase in pool usage, maybe too much.
That is what we're concerned about, which is why we said, look, 20% cap on non-member monthly memberships. You can still come in. The main pool requires a lifeguard ratio of 1 lifeguard to 25 people. Maximum 125 people.
In the main pool.
Main pool. All right? So we have to have lifeguards for that. YMCA originally was going to contract with us, and they were going to provide us with lifeguards, and then their number almost doubled. So now we're hiring our own. So we're in the process of hiring lifeguards. So if you know anyone 16 and older that might be interested in a summer job for about 8 weeks, tell a friend. Otherwise, mum's the word. So we're hiring lifeguards. And as the usage goes up, lifeguard numbers ratio has to stay in there. So
Do you know what kind of usage we have when the Y was there?
according to YMCA, they only maxed out twice last year. On the other hand, according to our staff, they had a tremendous amount of non-Sudden Valley people in the pool, and our staff, our people are saying, well, they couldn't get in. I don't know. I wasn't here. You know, a lot of that is anecdotal. I can't point to it. Y says twice. Who knows?
So we're gonna have passes for the owner, how do you prove that you're an owner?
You have a card. You have not gone and gotten your card.
No, I've never had a card.
Okay,
Have a
so
YMCA there, I don't have a Sunday alley.
you're not a card-carrying member of the association.
No,
Good.
I haven't read about it either.
Okay, let's get.
You get a card.
Check with admin, you can get your card there. I guess, we'll have to talk about this. What about renters? renters?
So today, a person came in and said, well, I'm renting, do I get to use it? Do I get the free use? And I said, we had a quick conversation. The answer is pretty clear. Each house gets one use, right? So one homeowner's use. So if you're the owner of the rental and you rent it out, you will transfer your rights to your tenant.
Makes sense.
So we said, if the landlord gives you bring in your lease with a note saying, from the landlord, I'm releasing my rights, we'll give you the card.
Makes no sense if they're living in Alaska to
That's
not release.
Should be a transfer fee to the renter. Seriously. If they're constantly on a 1-year lease and people are coming in, you're going to be constantly changing. I mean, a $25 fee or something. I've had a property where the renters, if they wanted it in Arizona, if they wanted to use the pool and the health club, they went to pay a fee and they got it, and then they got access to the amenities. I mean, it's going to take some staff time. I'm not saying it's going to be some big revenue source for us, but
Make the recommendation to finance. If finance says they want to do it,
Some interesting
So,
things.
so the owner and their family each have a card, or does just the owner have a card?
each household is given one card. So if you want to come down here with the kids, hi, it's me, the wife, and 3 kids. Well, here's our card. It's us. We're coming in. We'll go with that. But if you want to go to different places at the same time, the adult pool, the gym, the main pool, you'll need your own card. So the agreement was that we would provide one card to each homeowner, and then every card after that was $8. Now, when we go into revision of the spending plan next week, you're going to discuss, or the next meeting, you're going to hear how many cards we have made, and we are making a lot of cards. We wore out our card making machine and had to buy another one. All right,
And then they wore out the new one.
yeah,
we're track all the data.
Is this been in the view?
So
we're in the
cards-
625, 650 card range right now.
It is?
I have a question on that. The cards come with your name and your picture on it.
That's correct.
My understanding was that each person needed their own in your family. But
Right.
now you're saying, like, if I just go to the pool with my husband and kids, that we can get in with just,
You
we
can
only
get in
need
with
one, well, I mean, I know you can physically get
You
in
can get
with
in.
one card.
You can get in with one.
Okay.
You can get in with one. Now, your husband leaves and he wants to go to the adult pool.
Yeah.
With what card?
Well, no, we decided to do that. I just thought, I just wanted to clarify because I think that there's some misunderstanding about that, even in between what the folks that from the strong group and the folks from what I'm hearing now, I think there's some miscommunication that we should clarify for the community.
Be happy to do that. And you'll notice on the fee schedule, we
This isn't
specifically,
approved yet, so
Yeah.
these are good questions to
These
be
are good
asking
questions.
right now.
you'll notice that we said for seniors, issue them one card. Very clearly. Issue them just one card. Let them go with one card. Now, I'll go ahead and get you that clarification,
What does that mean? Why do the seniors get one card and non-seniors get?
because we feel that in most cases, they probably, the feedback that we have gotten from them is they only needed one card.
But they can have two if
They
they
can
want.
have two if they want.
I'm a senior,
For $8
and my husband
more.
and I each
For
have
$8
one.
more.
So I'm wondering if, with the pools
Maybe it's
opening
still
late and the pools being free, if we should consider in the first year not selling to non-members.
You have to sell. You have to provide access to non-members to keep our nonprofit status. But that's right. But we don't have to offer full 100% monthly or yearly memberships. So we should cap that.
Cap it by making it more expensive.
It is not, I also have to be in a certain reasonableness of cost. You cannot price a non-member out of this.
I
by
charge
saying,
them $5,000.
yeah, your fee is $1,000. Alright, so we went with, that's why we did a comparison to Arnhem and
Others,
Illinois.
yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I guess I'd feel comfortable going quite a bit higher. I mean, reasonably higher, understanding your constraints, but even, going $6 per day, and I would want to discourage as much as we can within the law outside Sudden Valley people.
I could do that. It's
I totally
It's just
agree.
an answer to just-
Because I think the pool's gonna be massively used by fire members.
Yeah, and I want Sudden Valley members that are paying for it to be using it.
Same with beaches.
Yeah.
That's what parking, the parking fee.
Okay, I need to stay on pools right now.
So, we talked about that.
So,
That was
We've heard that one before.
That was a former.
Bring back old memories.
All right. Revisit it anytime you wish on the agenda.
Yeah, my own point, I recommend pushing it upward and discouraging as much as we can. If people agree, great. If they don't, fine, whatever. But
So is there also going to be some, an overhead, staffing overhead, hit because they have to take one car for the family that's gonna use the pool. However, every person in the family still has to have a waiver.
that's right. So if you want to get in, we have to have a waiver.
Oh,
You know what?
personally, if you need to have
Paul,
cars.
I misspoke on that, because I do have to have a waiver, they do have to have a card.
Yeah.
Because we do have to have a waiver for every person that gets a
That's
card.
one way to ensure that you have.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
I misspoke and I apologize, that is correct, that is correct.
We've done a good job with rates, I think.
Yeah.
It's a good
But,
start.
but
So,
to
pool-
Colin's point, I mean, should we consider going higher on some
I
of
mean,
these?
sure, could we at least match the YMCA, what their fees were?
oh, I go higher than them. Our pool's way
Actually,
better than
it's
their
true.
pool.
Ours is much nicer.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, at least, because we're significantly on some of these.
We're in a nice little vicinity. let's
For
put it that
non-members
way.
is what you're talking about.
Yeah, for non-members.
For non-members,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because that's a is that a YMCA non-member fee? Yeah, because they pay a monthly fee and they can get in for free, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I would
I
think
agree.
more on the longer term passes of non-members versus I see the daily non-members of being guests of Sudden Valley residents, which,
Oh, guests, yeah.
so, I mean, everybody has guests that come, so I don't think you wanna discourage that as much as you wanna give a big benefit to non-members for a season pass or something like that.
Here's an example, a person who's a member here says, oh, I've got my 2 grandchildren with me.
Oh, yes, let's just say that.
Yeah, let's say that.
You don't know
Yeah.
what falls in that category.
Because I've got 2 coming in about 10 days. How does that work?
$10
We're
a
not,
kid.
no cards under 12, so you'll be filling out a form. They're your guests. It says maximum of 6, so you'll be filling out a waiver form.
Oh, okay.
So are the
Two members
maximum,
of your family.
are member guests, charged, so you have 2 free with each person? Or do they need to go get the day use pass?
So a day use pass is, I'm coming in here and it's above the amount of people you can bring as a guest.
Okay,
You can bring a guest,
so,
all right? So you have a maximum of 6 guests you can bring.
Yeah, I think, I'm just gonna make a statement. I think this is simplistic
mhm.
and it's gonna be hard for somebody to look at it
Yes.
and see. However, that's true with anything like this. And what's going to have to be is that our staff fully understands it and will tell them, this is our rates and here's where you fall, and be able to explain it to them.
All right,
Because I don't think you're gonna
This
fill all
is too
the,
simplistic.
well, it may be too simplistic and for that reason, yeah. But I'm just saying
Yeah, I wouldn't
that,
put it out like this to
No.
the,
no, no,
to
no,
the,
no,
to
no,
the
no,
membership
no,
or
I
public,
agree.
yeah.
This is our discussion about it.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is for us to talk about.
So would you, I would like input on it, and I would like it to not be something rushed. So I would request that, Madam Treasurer, that you have a couple people noodle on it and give us back something saying this is what we think.
Okay. Noodle on it, you know, so noodle on it.
Just a question about is there anything, any of our buildings, any of the pool, the 2 pools, do we have to allow public access to both pools, or can we say,
We
don't
can
do the
prevent
adult.
public access to the adult pool.
okay, okay.
We can say no public access to the adult pool. But if you're a resident, but not a member, should you be able to go down there?
Well, yeah, that's a different thing, but I mean, if I live in Bellingham and I wanna come out and hang out at the pool all summer here, if the adults come, I don't know that that makes sense to me.
So it says here, look at this.
Okay,
Adult pool restricted to members, their guests, and resident non-members.
What is a resident non-member?
A renter.
Renter.
A renter.
Oh.
so then what,
Bellingham, I live in Bellingham, I'm a Bellinghamster, sorry,
So really, these rates here are for the resident non-members.
that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
okay. So,
We are not allowing non-Sudden Valley people access to that pool.
okay,
Unless
But
they
we
happen
are-
to be a guest for a party or something.
That's correct.
okay. So resident not, so this is the fees, so I found this confusing. So this is the fees just for the resident non-members?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
And we're staying with the adult pool. If you want to go ahead and rent the entire adult pool, Sudden Valley members only, $150, 2 weeks notice, excluding 4th of July and Labor Day weekend.
Now, is there going to be an expense to enforcing? Enforcement here at the main pool is going to be a whole lot easier than at the adult pool.
Right.
Last year, there were yoga classes being held in there.
In the adult pool,
In the adult
on
pool
the-
area by a group of non-Sudden Valley residents.
Well, that's very interesting to hear, sir, because it would be the first time I heard about it. So if that was happening last year and no one told the association, then no one told the association, and we would have no way to know.
I was told that someone told me.
Yeah, no, that would have been an interesting one to go down and say, who gave you permission to have a class here? And we would have asked them to leave. It's very difficult for us to want to go into the gated area at the adult pool and say, I'm here for enforcement, and not get thrown in the pool, you know, or have other unspeakable acts thrust upon you. So, listen, if there's something going on down there, we would expect the people down there to use their cell phone and say, there's something down here that's not right, please come down. Because I have told our staff, unless you get a phone call, you are not going down into the adult pool area to do any compliance. It's not worth it.
Sure.
So is there no card access to that? Basically,
Oh, it's card access.
Oh, okay.
But we have a couple members that they didn't buy it. We had a number of people who did not buy memberships, and their friends would let them in. I'm sorry. If that was the behavior of the people who were using it, they were there then and they observed it and they didn't want to report it, then we are not getting involved. It's anecdotal and it's just not something we're going to try to enforce. It's a losing battle.
So if I wanted to use the adult pool, do I need, and I get a card, can I just use the adult pool? So,
You don't have to reserve
I don't have
anything,
to,
you just walk in.
or do I need a special thing that allows me to get into the adult pool versus, you know, is there something on my card that allows?
You need a card and a swimsuit.
Well, I'm not sure about this one. But
No, you can
You might
actually
get
sit
called
there.
on that.
Or an adult beverage. I mean.
or an adult beverage. No, the cards are set
This is a
to
card.
give you access to
It's got a stripe.
two locations. The card reader at the adult pool and the card reader into the gym.
Okay,
Now, we are thinking of installing a card reader out of the change rooms into the pool. Because if you give someone access to the gym, I'm here for the gym. Okay, going into the pool. We decided, hey, you know what, if a person goes into the gym and they want to go use the gym and they want to go use the pool, problem for us becomes, how do we track how many belly buttons are in the pool? That's the challenge. All right, so we're trying to figure out how we're going to work that. All right, a little bit of a dark art to some extent. We haven't figured it out yet.
Even if you got if I go there with my 2 kids to the pool, I'm just swiping my card and don't know that 3 people have gone in.
3 people will go in because 3 people, as she pointed out, will swipe in, or we'll go ahead and add in 2 more because we'll say where the releases. Oh, you have 2 releases, you and 2 children?
So I swipe my card and then somehow add in the.
They'll add in 2 more people. We'll have to keep track of development.
So where are you gonna swipe in for the pool? You're gonna swipe in at the pool, or you're gonna swipe in out front
It's working
here?
on it. You mean the main pool?
Oh, that, yeah, the
We're
main
working
pool.
on Need to keep track of what's in, who's in the
I
pool.
see,
Yeah.
okay.
I think you have to use something.
Well, then you gotta
to track
swipe
the
out,
pool.
too.
Yeah.
The other side is we could go ahead, some pools just have the head lifeguard with a little clicker.
Mhm.
And as they come in, as they go out, that's one of the jobs that they do.
Yeah. They've got time on their hands, they're standing around.
That's right.
You're supposed to be watching them anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're working that.
Got it, okay. Yep.
So it's part of the pool policy, and the pool policy is about 50% done right now. And we're doing reviews on it as we're going through it. We've got some very good templates. Our insurance, safety insurance experts have professional safety managers that give us input and incorporated all the wax into it. And the lodge is really cool, sent us over their pool policy, and so we've stolen some of theirs. Plagiarism is a good thing here. And,
So is there gonna be a discussion or information on this in the
I'm
July
asking
views?
finance to,
To noodle it and get back.
Mhm.
So it won't be in the July views because we're getting up against the wall. Is that
Right.
Communications.
We'll have to get it out some other way.
Okay, just curious.
We've got, what, 3 weeks before the pool's open?
yeah,
People that get the views are not, it doesn't really apply to them anyway.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing that I guess I'm,
They're free.
thinking is timing on this, because we have a board meeting next Thursday. I'm assuming you want to have the fee structure approved by the board next week. Is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So then we'll do.
So to my way of thinking, it would be helpful if we had 2 or 3 people who would just come up with a recommendation from the finance committees. Anyone interested in putting together their thoughts and providing that to the general manager?
I'm on vacation next week.
Okay,
I can do it.
okay, that'd be great. Anybody else?
All of you.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's great.
Sure.
And Colin,
So-
Colin,
Thank you, thank
now
you.
you will provide your input to them, please?
I think I already have.
I checked it off
All
mine.
right, take notes.
Jack up the pool prices, keep it on up.
So I'd say we need to have that probably by Monday, so that we can get that into
Yeah.
the packet by Tuesday. So we have to have it in Tuesday afternoon.
So, does that work, just to have, so how do you want to proceed? If we're making a recommendation, is that just a recommendation that's gonna go?
Just make a recommendation, I think, you can inform, the general manager. I'm gonna assume though, whatever, you're sort of like a subtask of, a task force, focus group or
Subcommittee.
whatever, subcommittee, whatever you wanna call it, and I'm comfortable if you just, send your recommendations directly to the general manager. And then, and copy me at least, or me and Eric, if you can copy the whole committee, but I will make sure the rest of the committee gets the information, okay? Is that good?
We trust you.
Yeah, we do.
You took on the task, so.
And
Well, I don't know what
God's
the protocol is, that's what I was
Yeah.
asking.
well, you're not really finance committee, you're sort of a focus group or a subcommittee.
Or the jacket.
You're the what?
The jacket team.
You're not the bat team then?
We're gonna go to the Bat Cave to do that.
All right. Got it. All right, go ahead. You had something else?
No, I think we could probably move on.
Yes, I think we can move on,
Sure.
and because Mitch walked out, I'm gonna skip over the clubhouse air conditioner right now. I could speak to it, but I'd rather he do it.
Okay.
We'll have Eva instead speak to the May financials, and then we'll go back and finish the last piece of our new business. So, Eva, you are on. Okay, she's handing out the May financials, and she's had some challenges with the May financials, or all financials, while she's been here. Because the bank, one of our banks, the local one,
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
So that's why it's
Okay, so Eva's challenge with the financials has been that did you get one? Did you want one?
No, I wasn't
Oh,
sure
for
first.
Mitch, yeah. All right, so WeQ has been putting some new software or something together, and it has delayed all of their, yes, Paula knows this, all of their statements that go out every month don't get out till like the third week or something, so Eva's been pulling her hair out, and one time I actually went to the bank and had them print everything out, and then I had to go back and get another printout because I didn't do it right, and we didn't get all of one account. And then Paula's been trying to do the reconciliations, and that's been held up. So anyway, thanks for your perseverance, both of you, for getting to it. All right, go ahead and have us give us a little overview here.
The areas that I'm going to highlight are just going to be just sporadically throughout the financials. The balance sheet, there's nothing really.
We don't have numbers, so.
Oh,
on
okay, the first page.
Oh, yes, we do on future pages, the first few pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
My apologies.
Okay. The first page.
First page, there's nothing that I'm going to address.
Okay.
Everything balances.
Okay. That was good news. That was good news. Yeah.
On the second page, the one is, the header is the income statement summary.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see on the year-to-date section, it says that our collections is 96.4%, which is really good for the month of May. It's, do you guys see it or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
Great.
And then the second thing I wanted to kind of talk about is that the expenses, some of the expenses have gone up, which are the CC&R mandates, which is the third one down on expenses. And the fourth one, that's the maintenance and landscaping. Those are pretty standard for this time of the year because of the season. I looked into it, and it's more of the landscaping and other labor like repairs and like the building and stuff like that. The other one I want to talk about is the one that is the administrative one. That's 76,000. And the reason why it's that much is that actually what happened is that because the employees get paid here bi-weekly, which is 26 pay periods per year, there's going to be 2 pay periods that kind of fall into the 3-week, like 3 pay periods in a month.
Mm-hmm.
And here, I just lumped it all together because the money came out on the 31st, but they didn't get paid till June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of reconcile the bank statement. In order for me to do that, I had to,
Yeah.
and then it's going to get reversed for the following month.
Yeah.
That's the reason why it shows that much. It's just, it's the way.
It's not that we just hired 5,
Yeah, no.
15 new people or something.
No.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
And the other part I wanted to go through is, if you guys want to go to your third page, the one is called the reserve cash balance and activities.
Excuse me, before you do that, did you guys see the article in the paper?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So thank you. Yeah. This is the sheet. If you saw the views, this is the report that Eva and Mitch and me and Eric and a bunch of us all worked together on it. But Eva put it together with the labels, Mitch wrote the notes. Did it make sense? Was it helpful to look at? I wondered if you'd seen it.
I didn't see it.
But he wants us to raise rates.
However, well,
I
let
will go home and
me
read it
tell you,
tonight.
I have spoken to 3 people approached me and said, I loved that. That was a really good idea. He said, I've seen so many financials and I never read them because there's just too much information. And even Brent Lindquist says, I'm sick of looking at financials in the newspaper. So I hope that this would help, so thank you for
It
doing
had a
that.
great explanation. I think, for education for the community, it was really good.
I've asked Mitch if he would try to find somewhere on the website and some fashion to put it on the website as a learning tool for people who may have questions. So someplace we could direct people if they have questions about this sort of thing. So onward, Eva.
On this, what I wanted to address is, again, what I talked about last month as well, is about the density reduction and the sales of assets. So if you go down the rows and where it says sales of assets, it's gone up to 96,000. Last month I was saying that there's some more work coming from 75,000 increasing. So that is where you guys are seeing it.
That was the lots.
Correct, the lots.
We hadn't collected all of them last month, which is why you're seeing a higher number this
Correct.
month. Correct.
And I just wanted to kind of show it to you guys that it's there. In reflection to this, I also wanted to bring up the other financial sheets, statements to kind of explain to you guys. So if you guys just flip forward to the next one that's called Operations by Department for the month of May. And in the common costs, if you, which is, fourth down, it's negative 74,632. And the reason why it's negative is because when the capital gains, which was the sales of the lots, were applied, they were applied into the operations, and then they got moved to the reserves. And so this just shows that it was taken out. The 74,000 is what is shown, but the full amount of 96 was taken. The rest would have been the revenue, and then it would have been in there. So that's the difference.
I didn't understand that.
So on the common costs, where it shows the negative.
Yeah, I got it.
So what happened is that when it was first deposited, it was deposited into the operations. And it really belongs into the
reduction.
Correct, which is the capital, the reserves.
So I took it out.
So
In
we
April, this
moved
is just
it.
for the month of May, so in April it's
Yeah.
probably included in that, and now they're pulling it out, but now this is
Yeah.
only showing the month of May, so.
Okay.
So it's just the things that stood out in the financials is what I kind of focused on. I said, okay, this is something probably guys will say, well, why is there a huge negative? So that's the reflection of that. What I did is I kind of I want to jump a little bit further. If you guys flip to the one that's called Common Costs, and I will kind of explain a little bit more. It's probably,
Where is this now?
it's probably,
Are you looking for the full department?
yeah, it's called Common Costs.
Okay.
It's like this.
Full department report, common cost.
Is
It's
that
on
page?
page 1 of 27.
Okay, yes, now the numbers.
Now we have numbers. Now we're there.
In here, in the other income, where the GL code 4922, the one that says capital gain loss and lots,
Yeah.
the 77,715 is the amount that was on our density reduction last month. So you can see that it's being pulled out.
Okay, so this shows the removal.
Correct. So I'm just trying to
And
show you.
elsewhere it will show us that it went to. Got it.
Alright, and I will show you this. Let me just find the page this way. If you guys go to page 25.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that will be the one that says settlement SVCA reserves. So, yes,
Got it.
over there?
Yeah.
Okay. All the way to the bottom, same GL code 4922. Capital gain or loss. If you look on the actual, which is the year-to-date 5 months, the $96,096 is the same amount as that you're showing in your reserves for your sales of assets.
Okay, well, we have 77 out here. Explain the difference.
What the difference is that the 77 was for the previous months that was taken out. The other portion of it
Had already been done.
it wasn't applied to that section because it was already applied to the right GL code.
Okay, went to the right code initially. Okay.
So that is what I'm going to focus on. Let's see if I missed anything. Yep. So those are the areas I thought was kind of like, just to kind of, that was not the norm, you know, so I knew that
Right.
somebody would home and had a.
Well, obviously, we, having just gotten this, we haven't had a chance to look at it, but I
Yeah.
will review it. And all of you, if you wish to review it and have any questions, let me know, or even know. Actually, best to let me know since you're in transition for the
Yeah.
next few weeks.
Yes.
I mean, you'll be here for 2 more weeks, but then Jennifer will be coming back. But do let me know, and I can also try to find out so that we have it for the board meeting next week.
Mhm.
Because we'll be reviewing this at the board meeting.
Yeah.
All right, does anybody have questions at this point, or, okay, then you can just let me know. Thank you. All right, Mitch, we gave you a breather since you had other things that you were called to, and so we are going back now to continuing business and the clubhouse air conditioning issue.
Anyone been in the clubhouse lately? It's a little warm.
Yeah.
Air conditioning is shut. It's just not gonna work. So we went by last year with a hope and a prayer of what we can do, and we now have a leak in our 30-ton unit outside in the overhang, and the refrigerant for that is like pure gold. They don't make it anymore. So we're looking at different options. So my concern is this, that over many years, air conditioning systems are basically a couple of different components. There's the air handler, and there's the condenser, and there's an economizer. Let me explain an economizer. It's cool outside right now. It's cool outside in the morning. An economizer takes outside air when it's nice and cool and pumps it fresh air into a building. And when the temperature goes up, it turns off the economizer and starts to use your compressor to cool the air that's coming in. And the fan turns that air. And the economizer was bypassed long before I'm here. They just don't use it, which is ridiculous. Because when it's warm out, you'd want to use early morning air or late evening air to pump it to the building. The air handler, the coil, pumps the solvent down and then releases it and expands it, and it turns cold, and then they use that cold to make cold air. And then the air handler moves everything around, and they're done. They're dead, in fact. The compressor is shot. And so I'm going to have him come out tomorrow and try to figure out how to pull the coils out and figure out where the leak is after he pumps out all of the freon. But if I lost all the freon, it's thousands and thousands of dollars because they don't make it anymore. Now you have to go to a different type of a coolant, and our system doesn't operate on this more modern coolant. So, I'm afraid to say that we, without an air conditioner, we don't have a restaurant. And the downstairs, county, golf, they're fine.
Yep.
It's a split unit. One unit takes care of upstairs, one unit takes care of downstairs.
Oh, is that the reason? Oh,
So I've got 2 units outside, one is fine, one is not. I have 1 boiler. Boilers are easy. Air has to be heated up. Boiler just makes hot water and it transfers the hot water to a heating coil, blows air past it, and you have hot air. Getting the cold air, when it's hot, requires the air conditioning system and the components, and they don't work. I have estimates from Barron that Bruce got me before he left on vacation, and he's gone for 2 weeks, so in the midst of this, I'm also now Bruce for the next 2 weeks.
although Bruce did try to repair this, yes.
He has tried to repair it, and God love this man, but he has tried to do so with baling wire, spit-wide bubble gum, and I'm sorry, it's just beyond that. So I need to go, and I'm going to meet Leroy Mann. We do business with Barron HVAC, and I'm going to walk through this with him on Friday. But at this time, we need a new 30-ton air handler and coil, new carrier system, and I need that economizer to work, and I need a new condenser, and all of that could be $75,000.
But we don't know for sure until,
We do know that there is no heat inside the second floor. We do know the coil has got a
There's
leak.
no cold.
I'm sorry, there's no coil. Yeah, there's plenty of heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 80 degrees in our office, and so it's warm.
So I-
Now, it's cooling down for the next couple of days, but we do have a restaurant in there, and the
Yeah.
restaurant people were very specific with me this morning, saying, we don't have air conditioning, we don't have a business, what are you doing about it?
So a question I have for you is, and I see you've got the reserve study in here for the next few years. Was that for was it to be used for this discussion?
I did not put that in.
Oh, somebody put it in. Huh? Okay.
well, that's something.
Oh,
we have.
something you know what? This is probably something that I had in there from a prior, yeah, it's from March. Never mind. I'm like,
Part of the
okay.
system.
But I happened to look at this, I was trying to find out, or ask you a question, if any of the components that are now failing are on the reserve study for replacement sometime this year or in the near future.
Jennifer, as she swung by today, said, Mitch, part of that system is online. I haven't had a chance to go pull up their whole reserve study and look at it and say, all right, where are the components? And I don't know if all the components are in there, but I was a little surprised when the Baron said they bypassed your economizer years ago and haven't used it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and this is something because it wasn't on the agenda.
Bypassed because the economizer was bad.
What's that?
So I wondered if it was bypassed because the economizer was bad.
Yeah,
My guess
they
is
didn't
the
want.
economizer broke and they didn't want to
They didn't want
replace it. And they
to
said,
spend the
how
money.
often do we have to use an economizer?
Right.
Well, if you'd like to keep your energy bill down every day,
Yeah.
even in cold weather, because it's cheaper to make hot air than it is to make cold air. And if you want fresh air in the building, you pump in cold air and you heat it.
Well, can't you just go directly to the board and request the money?
I can't. I'm just mentioning this to
Well, and
you
I
right
think
now.
what we have to keep in mind, this is my thought, and this is why I asked him to bring it to us, because one of the things that we're going to be dealing with is, and we've just had the managers go through and tell us what are the most critical things on the SURF plan this coming year. We have very limited funds. And yet, if we look at our ranking for projects on the SURF list, this sounds to me like it's going to be pretty high up there. What is the impact? It's failed already, so it's not a question of what's the risk, it's already gone. And you add to that the impact on Southern Valley, and I think it's high.
It's ranked high.
It's got.
Well, the probability is high, because it's already happened.
It's already happened, and the impact on
and the
Southern
impact is
Valley is
high,
high,
so-
because it's not only going to impact us, it's going to impact the revenue of our tenant, and
Right.
and I think it has to be considered as, and I think we're just going to have to find a way to pay for it.
Well, and was this even on that list? I mean, it
That's
was
what I'm
on the
saying,
list,
we
yeah.
don't know yet, because
I can't
Mitch is
remember
going to
what was
check
on the
that
list.
out and find out. It's not on
These
this
components
year's.
were not on the list.
I
Not
don't
on the
recall
list this
seeing
year.
them when we looked at it.
And I don't see him for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's irrelevant, we have to fix it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
irrelevant.
It's like
No,
2
well,
years
my
now.
only point was, how does it impact, was there any portion of
gonna be other
this
stuff.
this year?
Yeah, there's going to be other stuff
This will-
impacted by.
Yes.
Other stuff's gonna get pushed back.
Pushed
They'll either get
Doesn't mean it's
pushed
not
back.
important, but
No.
it's just became less important.
It just became pushed back.
Given what we've seen, what we saw last time, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just gonna push other things down.
And the only thing we have
Saw
to
last
decide is how to, do we
Yeah.
fund this through SURF? Or,
Right.
I mean, obviously we fund it through SURF, but do we pull the funds from some other, reserve, or reserve account, or do we, and then still fix the things we were hoping to fix in SURF? So that's
So
part
I'm
of the
gonna-
conversation.
I'm going to go through this with him Friday. We've scheduled 2 hours together to go through it and say, all right, let's go through the components. What are our options? Rebuilding versus new versus repurposed equipment. right? It's old stuff.
Well, and the other thing I talked to Mitch about was, we talked about sprinklers, for instance, for the dance barn here. And the fact that that's almost like putting lipstick on a pig. It would not be able to be used if we did a new building, or if we did a whole refurbishment, it might have to be something different. Whereas this component is going to be in a building that's already, it needs a refurb, but it won't have to be ripped out at any point in time. No ductwork.
The size of the air conditioning unit, the size of the components are sized for the 14,000 square feet per floor.
That's there.
All right, and so you might move the ductwork around, but you're still going to need the economizer. You're going to need each of these components.
This is not a fix. This is not a temporary fix. This is
It's
a permanent
fix,
fix to that
There's a
building.
timing issue that you have to deal with, trying to get this thing up and running.
Yeah,
That's correct.
gotta do it fast.
Sounds like
So
an
this
executive
sounds like an
order.
executive committee.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing I think, Mitch, is that I think as soon as you have information, that might be something that we're gonna have to take to the executive committee to be ratified later at the board meeting.
Okay.
That's my thought, was everything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And we're talking $75,000 ballpark?
It's about.
That's so far. So far, that's
So
what
can
we
we get somebody, can we get a second opinion from another contractor?
As soon as I have the scope of work, then I'm going to look for a couple of contractors.
Okay.
I'll go for multiple bids. We do business with Aaron. This is a lot of money. Let's go get a couple of bids.
Well, and then be sure that Barron is sharpening their pencil too.
I need them to, they service equipment, so we're not buying, Joe's specialty economizer built last week model.
So you're having them look at it, they're getting the scope of work, and then we use that information to go get 20 bids.
That's exactly right.
Perfect.
We're paying them for the scope of work. The last item I have is a spreadsheet that you have in front of you.
Yes.
What you're looking at is an integrated sheet. At the top, starting at 18 to 27, showing the carryover, expected reserves, what the total expected reserves are for 18, and then on-call services, culvert inspection, the plan itself, and then the first section on that page then is roads. Roads and parking lots. And that whole section for 10 years is what roads, what parking lots, where tires touch ground, what would we be doing? And the brown line going towards the bottom shows road surfacing reserve fund. So I believe if we do the micro surface while we're doing starting this year, and we did it 19, 20, and 21, we need to start setting aside money so in 2028 we have all the money ready to do it, and we don't have to borrow money, and it's there.
So that's a resurfacing
That's a new reserve that we need to start building up.
Okay.
And then you see pothole repairs, and ditch reconstruction. All right, so this is roads, and so it goes, you can see how much money it says you should be doing in parking lots and roads. I have midnight court in here. I have 2 retaining walls. I have taking out the barn 7 foundation, removing the rotunda foundation, the rec corridor parking lot, the marina parking lot, Spring Road. So these are all the major road and parking issues and foundation issues. The next section after that is stormwater improvements right out of our 10-year plan. So fast response is the purple line, and then you go through this, and it is everything out of our 10-year plan, and our 10-year plan will be due to be rebuilt here in a little while. And as you go through it, you see down at the bottom, subtotal stormwater for the year, Now, in yellow, those line numbers are correct, but there was a error in the 2027 number, so I checked it. The green line right below it shows what the number looks like, and they're all the same until it gets to 2027. There's a different number there.
This is 1.635.
954.
Should be something different.
That's what it should be, actually.
Oh, that is what it should be.
The 2.5 million,
Is wrong.
it simply included,
That included,
it included
that
the
6,300.
average annual cost
Yeah.
of the roads, which was 857,000. So it's just 857.
So this is an integrated plan. Now, what's important, you get down to the bottom of that, it says, okay, here's your intended year, end of year carryover. So if we do what we're supposed to do here in this plan between roads and culverts, we're upside down 39,000. Next year, we're upside down almost 1.2 million. The following year, we're upside down 2.4 million, and so on. So we are not going to be doing integrated roads and culverts. You might want to do roads, you might want to do culverts, but you're not going to be doing both. You can move things around a lot of different ways, but this is, if we said do roads and culverts and have an integrated plan, everywhere that rubber touched the ground or water hit the ground, this is it. This is what we spent money on to say, show us an integrated plan.
So total at the end of 10 years is we're in the hole, 8.8 million.
Without contingency or tax.
This has
And that
no
doesn't
contingency,
include contingency,
has
that
no
does
tax.
not include taxes. Now,
Or
taxes
construction
would be on the
management.
majority of them, huh?
Or construction.
Or construction management.
That is correct.
So you need,
So you could
30%
add
on top of that.
30% on top of that, so we're talking
Easy.
about another, probably over $10 million.
All right. I believe that your total amount of money here that you're looking at is in the $15 million range. Well, it shows grand total 15.2.
Where is that?
On the second page, it says grand total stormwater roads maintenance on call fast response 15,294,000.
Ah,
Not including tax, not including.
oh yeah, that's the total amount.
All right, not including.
Yeah.
All right. So when you think about, okay, what does it take?
That's right, it's gotta be the 30% on top of the 15,
That's right.
because that's the total amount we spent,
All right.
yeah.
So now we go back to, well, here's some interesting numbers. The 200,000 that was portended for road surfacing demonstration project, that's coming in on the line. That's coming in correctly. And we have 20,000 contingency on top of that. But then the number down at the bottom, $32,000 for roads pothole repair, that number was not, was inadequate.
Yeah.
Right?
Why do we think that is? Why? Because Wilson's usually been pretty good.
They're actually quite thorough, but you looked at our potholes last year and now here's where you're at.
Oh, so it changed.
Things
Yeah.
change.
Because we didn't get them done.
Everything deteriorates that you're not maintaining. It's just, that's the way it works.
Pay me now, pay me later.
So, pay now, pay later, pay more later.
Right.
All right? So, which again goes to, well, why did we put everything in a conditional use permit? Pay now, pay later. We're gonna pay now so we don't have to pay later. All right? You pay, I think, $17.29. I think is it $17.29 or $19.29? I think it's $17.29 for roads right now, out of your dues. To fully fund roads, you're gonna have to bring that up another $24. All right?
For the next 10 years.
For the next 10 years. That's what you're gonna have to do. And SURF is not on here, so we're now doing SURF. So SURF is on top of that. And we are now right at the cusp of, we are now having serious failures. Right? Here's your air conditioning system for your main facility. And we're catching up on a lot of things, but a lot of things are not. This building will last until it falls down or we decide otherwise. We're now working on SURF. We're going to have to redo that. But I've given you what looks like a 10-year plan. And Carol, you and I have looked at this, and I started adding in 10% contingency. I started adding in, okay, where's the tax numbers? So I have different versions of this. But here's the
That's what I was
reality.
gonna say, the 15 actually was low compared to what I came up to. I came up closer to 20.
Okay, here's your reality. There's nothing in here that you are going to be able to say, I don't want to do it. Oh, wait, you could say, I don't want to take out the foundation to barn 7. Oh, but that's the reason water is leaking into this building. Because I got hydraulic action in there that's helping water get in the building and it's seeping in through alongside the foundation. So, you know, you can just cut it and leave it there. You could say, leave the foundation over at the rotunda. Yeah, you could do that. You could say, don't do the retaining walls. Well, they're coming down, so you're going to have to do the retaining walls. So I would defy anyone here to really come in and say, I don't want to do this. You don't want to do Southern Court, you don't want to do Midnight Court, you don't want to do road surfacing, you don't want to do parking lots.
We can't leave the marina parking lot unpaved.
You're just going to have to do it all right? There's just, over time, what we've been showing everyone is it will continue to deteriorate and regulatory measures will not become less stringent. They will become more stringent. And it's not like we won't be able to do what we need to get done. We'll have to still do what we need to get done. It's just going to be more expensive because regulatory requirements will consistently add more burden cost to your projects. There's just no way around that. Right? So we have to attack the problem, and the problem is, well, it's aged. So this is your roads plan, and it will take about $24 additional a month to fix your roads plan.
Is that
More like 30.
Is it 24 at these numbers, or is it?
It's more
This
like
is
30.
without the contingency.
Yeah, it could be more like 30.
I came up with more like 34, actually.
Actually, that's right. You and
What
I.
I came up with 31.
Yeah, that's right. It was between 31 and 34. So that's after we added contingency and we added taxes
And construction management.
and construction management.
But why do we look at it all the way to 10 years? Why don't we focus more on a 5-year plan?
Well, first of all,
Because your dues, I mean, in 10 years, all this stuff is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And we don't know. But if you narrow it down to a 3 or 5 year plan, at least we have a much better idea of what it's going to cost. And then we can talk about dues. But when you talk about a 10-year plan for dues, that's ridiculous. Because it's not going to be $30 a month, but maybe $40 a month in 5 years from now. Because all the changes that take place. This is great for a 10-year plan, long range, but from a financial standpoint, for me, I want to know what it's going to cost me in 5 years, what the dues are going to be in 5 years. And then we hope the foot to the pedal to make sure we come in on right on the schedule. Then we can look at another 5 years or another 3 years from that point on. But looking at a 10-year plan, it's absurd.
So if we took the same numbers, we escalated it, put in the cost for construction management, taxes, and contingency, and just said 5 years, what would it cost? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, it's better than going
I
out
got
there.
it. And let me tell you why we did a 10-year, just so that you know. This is actually part of our requirements.
I know. I
Is
know
to
that.
do a 10-year, so I think actually Eric can give us this precise wording of it, but we're required to do a 10-year engineering plan for roads and to fund it. Now, funding has been the issue in the past, so, you know, and can we go outside of the engineer's recommendations? Of course we can. We can do that, and we can come up with a 5-year plan. And I hear what you're saying. I just want you to know why we did the 10-year plan.
I understand the 10-year plan, but if we're only funding for a 5-year plan, but in anticipation that we still have a 10-year plan, we know what's going to happen in 10 years, but we're only funding it up to 5 years, with the understanding that we're going to have to pay more 5 years from now, and the dues are going to increase 5 years from now.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying that look at what the first 5 years is going to cost and put together a due structure that will
Due
pay
structure for the
first
first 5 years.
Got it?
Which actually makes it worse.
It
Because the
does.
bulk of the expenses in the next 5 to 6 years, we actually,
Yeah.
I mean,
But are
We're
there
gonna,
other
we're
funding
gonna have to
options?
be, if we're gonna do it on this schedule, we have to take out a loan, and then we pay it back with roads money we collected these last 5 years.
I think that there's some options to it. I didn't bring in options. I think we can move some things back and forth. I'd like to find ways to do this without loaning, and I think it can be done. All right, I think it can be done. There are some significant costs. Flip over to the other side of the page. See, the significant costs over here are these two items here, and then all of the parking lots.
What are those two items? Because we
The,
can't see what you're pointing at.
Bridges.
Well, we've got the marina parking
We
lot.
have
which
marina
is
parking lot, the
2.2
rec parking lot.
million.
We have a water management issue to do offsets for all of the rainwater management construction work. We're gonna have to, if we do one project, we don't have to do it by project. And I think that's one of the faster ways we'll be able to save money. Again, regulatory issues are not gonna get less.
I think one of the key issues, the community has deferred everything roads and surf for many years.
Forever.
And, you know, we can kind of defer surf, as we've seen in the last few years that I've been here. We torn down the rotunda, we torn down barn 7, barn 6 is going. So we've gone past the end of life on several of our capital assets. You can't go beyond end of life on your road. It's a no-brainer.
We'll do the same thing, we'll just tear the roads up. Oh, wait, no,
There you
we can't do that.
Give it to
Bottom
the
line
county.
is we-
Oh, no, they want $52
we
million
have to
worth of
fund-
work done on it.
We have to fund the roads. That's not an option, and I think it requires a change of community thinking process, because they're used to the board and the community saying we need this, but they don't get it, so they shuffle things around. And we're at the point that there's no more things. There's no more.
Shuffling.
You can't more
There's
shuffle
no more
anymore.
room to shuffle.
Not with roads.
Not with roads.
I mean, so I think it's imperative that the board and the people that are responsible have a fiduciary responsibility to maintain our assets. They have to maintain the assets of the road to make a strong statement to say, this is where we're at and this is where we're going. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, that people need to get hit straight over the forehead and say, this is coming down the road. If we're going to survive as a community, we can't survive without roads, and this is what it takes. Just like what you said, pretty much everything on here has to be done.
Yeah, try to pick something out that you don't want to do.
Well, if the rule hadn't just changed, guess what? We wouldn't be doing it.
Well, we'd all be moving someplace else.
Well, maybe.
Okay,
Is
Paula.
this shareable? I mean, 'cause I know that we talked last time we all met again about getting something into a shareable format and talking about it and sharing it. Is this,
I would
maybe
say
not in this format, but
not yet, and I'll tell you why. Because the number is still low. The number doesn't include the 3 things that we talked about.
right.
So if you show that, if you pass that out, then it becomes truth paper.
Well, I don't mean this exactly, because obviously we know that there's more numbers that have to go into it. I'm talking about this information though. Is this something that we should be looking at? How do we start educating to this information with the correct numbers, including what's not on there right now?
My guidance to you would be, we agree on setting not 20%, but a smaller contingency number on it, adding in taxes on the direct work, not on the design, we don't pay for the design, and we put in construction management on the construction management costs, and we say, this is what we think the number is, that be the document that we'll let
That
people
would
see.
be, I think that would be good.
But it doesn't take into account inflation.
Yes, it
Yes,
does,
it
because
does.
all these
These
numbers
are all
are.
inflated.
Multipliers on it, I
But
think.
I think we need
Wilson did
to
that.
start there and start communicating something,
I agree.
and not wait until October to do this.
Yeah, so I think if we do that, then
Yes, I agree.
we do that.
That's
correct.
due
So
diligence.
if you guys give me these sheets back, I'll send you, I will get you an updated sheet, so you have an updated sheet, within 2 days.
And it needs to go all the way down to the point of, to get this, to make this zero.
This is how much.
This is how much it's gonna cost, and then it's
Yeah.
just to here. That's
And
what
Tony, I'll do it on a 5-year basis,
I mean,
and a 10-year basis, you'll see
Yeah.
both numbers.
5 years. It's not gonna work.
it's still
gonna be
gonna
worse.
be, but it's still gonna be expensive, no
It'll
matter
be more
what.
expensive. without taking a loan, unless we start shifting things around, because it's all
But this is
front loaded.
only one aspect, because surf is on the other.
I have surf on the other one, I'm working surf.
But I don't know if surf's more expensive.
Well, Eva actually put, she's got the format started, but if you'll remember last year, just so that you know, Eva pulled 30 years worth of surf requirements, expectations, and put it in a spreadsheet similar to this. Now, the challenge, of course, is, if you'll recall, your two efforts last year was to then look at, well, okay, but now what's the real cost going to be? Because surf, our reserve studies often are far less money set aside than it actually costs. You add to that the fact that when we did, for instance, Barn 8, we didn't know that we were going to have to add in things like ADA and so forth. We also have a lot of assets that we were looking at that weren't yet assets that we added in. And by the time we got up there and added all of that in, we had like 7 layers of additional information, and it was way higher. So she's got the basis started, but now it's going to be up to Mitch to start looking at how do we add in the other stuff. And the stuff we did last year is outdated to some degree. I don't know how much of it we can use because, you know, the numbers are not going to be the same as they were for last year. But
It's struggling time. Eva went ahead and broke this down, surf down, to make it in the same format as this.
Mhm.
Now I think it's a question of starting to look at the actual hard assets and say, okay, move air conditioning components up, look at failure rates, actually assign failure variances, you know, what's the risk to the failure of different components, and move them up or move them down.
Yeah, so there's work still to be done on surf. Before we can
Roads have been neglected for years. I mean, we haven't done anything with them.
Well, last year we did.
we did quite a bit.
We've done a lot in the
But-
last couple of years.
How much are we planning on doing this year?
Well, we've got the road surfacing, which we approved earlier. That's for 220,000.
How much do you even have available?
Well, if you,
We,
it was on that sheet, so.
well, I know what needs to be done, but what do we have in the budget, or
We have enough for the.
Yeah,
for the-
1.1 million worth?
What was the amount? You've got it on your sheet there.
That sheet is
I'm sorry, I was looking at so many numbers. I was looking at 18.
1.1.
What's this total hit for this year? And we will have, we will be 39,000 in the hole if
If
those
we
numbers are right.
did everything on this year, road subtotal was 378,000. And that included, required stormwater mitigation, 80,000. That didn't include. Yeah,
But also the culverts, remember?
And no, then the culvert, no, add the culverts in,
And the
and
design,
it's 1105, 1106.
without contingency,
Without
without
contingency or
taxes,
tax.
without construction management. So even without that, we're upside down this year if it costs
Yeah,
what it
1.3.
says. We're gonna be upside down
Yeah,
this year.
we've hit the wall. Everyone is screaming, all right, do roads, do roads, do roads. All right, this
Do
is what
my
you're gonna
roads.
have to do. Here's the problem, you don't have the money, you're out of it. We're out of money.
Okay,
That's
so,
all I have, that's all we have.
yes, please.
Can I ask
Yes.
a question about timeline here about when does the budget, what's the process for that? And-
We're behind.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
They have,
that's nice.
let's talk about,
And, so the calendar doesn't stop, and so how are we managing that? Thank you.
in other words, that wasn't a good enough answer.
No, I mean, well, thank you for sharing, but, you know, it's like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't, you know, we just need to keep moving here.
Chip, on the budget calendar, you know where we're at in the budget calendar, we're behind. I keep stonewalling her.
Okay,
Well, I know that Eva has worked to get from the managers the labor
The
component
labor
of it.
part, we're about 90%. But the other part, whatever, because you guys did
We
your
don't have this
assessment,
here.
yeah. The surf,
Yeah.
Our problem is the surf.
yeah.
That is like,
Right.
and a good
But
portion of that was,
operations budget is the one that we're.
the labor budget, for this year, for the, change in the spending plan,
Mhm.
we're there, we're just about there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
And
95.
then the rest of the operations.
For next year, I'd say that our budget is probably equally there. We know what we have.
Okay, so, I'm wondering if, because of the, slow movement of the, challenges, let's just say the challenges in the budget, should we be planning on another, finance meeting earlier rather than later? Because the next one is scheduled for, I don't have my phone with me, so I think it's scheduled for like
So we'd like it 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, which would be
That's
right in the
July
middle of
4th.
July 4th. I
Well,
don't think
Mike,
that's
got nothing
good.
else going on.
I do.
What, your grandkids are here. Oh, wait, we have a big event in the park.
But what if we were to do it on the 11th?
I believe that we already scheduled one for the 11th.
Well, that was temporarily, it was scheduled by, NNE and.
If we could keep the 11th.
And let's keep the 11th open, July
I don't
11th.
know if I'll still be, I'll get the paperwork all.
You may not be here.
Yeah.
And
Jennifer
Jennifer
is
gets back on the
the
9th, so
But they're
wow,
gonna
what a great introduction from her back to work. Let's just come to the
I'll
finance
get
meeting
the
and
stuff
present the budget.
She came in today with her baby and she was all relaxed and everything, and I think poor James went out of there going, no, he did not.
Normally,
He certainly got passed around by everybody.
Normally, we would not be until the 18th, but if we have one on the 11th, I think we're also probably gonna have to have one around the 20-something.
So we have to bring in.
Are we even gonna have everything done on the budget by the 11th?
Oh, yeah.
We need to have
Oh,
it
yeah.
done.
No, actually, we're pretty much there.
Yeah, we need.
Except for surf. So I gotta just make a statement, I just made a statement about road. We don't have a choice. Well, in surf, we've asked the long-range planning committee and the board to give us some direction
How many years now?
for assets.
This
So,
team has
I guess
years.
your surf contributors are sticking their feet in the ground and saying, unless there's some direction from the board, we cannot put together a budget on surf. We haven't done one for this year, and we can't do one for next year. So, I don't know how to say it any differently, but I make a recommendation to the treasurer
Yes.
and the assistant treasurer to go to the board and ask for some direction on what they want to do with regards to the assets other than roads.
My feet are stuck to the ground too.
Isn't this too, because you're a tired.
Okay, I'm done.
That was very good, Rick.
I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
But I
So,
We're stuck.
I don't blame you guys for doing that, because it's like, put up or shut up, guys. I mean, you need to do something. I mean, shove some
We've
leadership
shuffled
there.
We put
those things around for so
Where you
long,
wanna
there's
go.
no more.
We put so much effort into this, and
the one good, I have to say though, the one good thing you did last year was the surf projects that are being worked on right now.
For the loan, we saved some
We
assets.
saved some assets.
There's
we
no
would've lost.
more pulling it out of a hat.
No, that's true. We would have lost the marina, it would
That
have
was
been on its
it.
way gone.
That's the last straw.
And I don't think Farm 6 is gonna make it through another winter, just to be honest, I'll be surprised if it does. And the pools, I don't think we'd have been able to open them,
no.
because we had the leaks that were
Yeah,
such a
so
problem.
Marina, Farm 6 and the pools,
Yeah.
took care of it. That's it.
So that was brilliant, but it was a stopgap measure, and there's still too many other things that we're losing.
We don't have any money
Mhm.
to do anything.
No.
Yes, I know, and now we have a $75,000 air conditioning unit that needs to be replaced.
That's over a third of our budget,
Mhm.
about a third of our budget.
It is.
About a third.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we
All
change
right.
the name up to the HVAC fund?
So, I will work with, Eric and I will work with the board, and we'll work with Mitch, and
We'll get some direction.
we'll get some direction.
You're developing the right amount of gallows humor now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, do you have something else before we go to decide on
Yes,
the meeting?
one
July
more
11th?
question.
All right, what, okay. Focus, refocus, let's go.
Yes, we're doing July 11th
July 11th will be our next
Next
meeting
meeting.
for sure. And I don't know yet after that if it will be the 18th or it might have to be because we gotta get the budget approved by the board. And usually we do a draft and then another before we get it to the board, so.
And the deadline for getting that completed is what
It
date?
has to be printed in August, so what, pardon me, could I ask you, ma'am? What date?
Well, that's the whole thing that I've been waiting for member comments on, because I think the board needs to look at the new state law, because I don't think we're gonna be able to mail one package any longer. I think you're gonna have a budget package, and the date of the AGM, which that can be, will go out to the members, because the notice has to go within 30 days of approval of the budget. So I think a lot of great minds are gonna have to sit down and look at the calendar. We used to go backwards from the AGM, and that was just fine. State law doesn't say we can do that anymore.
Thank you, let's take that under advisement, I will try to come up with a date based on the state law, so, I think that, I think we can get, Larry and maybe Eric, because I know Eric uses those.
Well,
So would you?
We talked about this at DRC at a meeting we had that I said, and you know, we just, you know, it's happened, but if I started looking at the calendar because I have to put an article in the views, and I'm kind of like, I have a
Okay,
topic,
well, in other words,
I'll
you
put
don't
on the
know.
next board meeting.
You don't know, so we'll find out, okay? Erica will help try to figure out what the date is that we need to go. And that's why I'm asking you to sort of keep some dates open in July 1st. We may have some multiple meetings just to get that budget finalized. We have to get it done in time to get it printed and off to the members. So, okay. And
that
was
was,
that-
I wanted to
that's where you
solidify,
wanted to go?
no, I just wanted to solidify the date of our next meeting.
Okay, July, okay. Member comments, did you have something else
The only
besides
other
that?
thing I had, that whoever's looking, Midget said something, I think at the last board meeting, about offering swim lessons. And are we not, you know, that when we
That's
hire
not,
our.
I don't think that's part of the finance committee's responsibility.
No, I meant with the fee, there's nothing under fees.
I know, I don't think that that's been determined yet. We don't have, I will tell you this, that there's a gentleman who's working with Maddie, who is putting together programs. I don't think he has a finalized plan yet, and he's got to talk to people, and so I don't.
Yeah, and I didn't.
We don't have it, so we
We
can't
don't
put a
know.
fee for it.
That
We
would
don't
work,
know.
that's
Yeah.
all, that was the only other
Okay.
question, the rest I can.
Once
say
they do
board
that,
meeting.
I'm sure they'll be presenting us with some fee. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Madam Secretary.
Two comments. First of all, and this is time for staff, it was an interesting comment about if a member wanted to use, it was a renter, and wanted to use their property owner's, authorization for the pool, et cetera, that they should come into the office along with the rental agreement and the letter from. Now, this is an opportunity to find out information that we don't know. Who is renting their house and to whom? And I hope that the staff starts to track this, as we get people coming in and doing that. The other thing has to do with the roads plan. And I think that what we need to look at is a special assessment, not a dues increase. And my reason for saying this is because if you make it a special assessment, it gets tied to the purpose for which it was voted.
We put a
If
fence
you
around
make
it.
it a dues increase, then it could be moved around in the future.
Yeah, that's a good
Does
point.
the board, under the new law, just approve a special assessment?
They would do the same thing as they would for a dues increase, yeah.
And then,
Well, but
how many
again,
years
remember-
could they put it in place?
There's no limit right now.
And then a future board could then remove it?
No, I agree.
Well, they could just say,
Yeah, I assume they could.
I assume they could, but you're gonna put it in place for a specific amount of time. I suppose the right board could come in and say, we're canceling that assessment.
But if you did a dues increase, they could do the same thing with that.
They can do the same thing with the dues increase.
Out of this meeting, I think the most important thing we need to do, right away is get this thing finalized, the roads plan and the cost of it, and get it out.
And the same, yeah,
There you go.
I-
If you think this is a
Definitely
ripoff,
not.
tell us what we're doing wrong and what we're, you know.
yeah, tell us what you're disagreeing with and what do you want us to not do to keep
Yeah.
the dues down,
If some-
because,
If they've got great
Yeah.
feedback, let's hear it.
Yeah,
You know,
we wanna
we'd
hear it
love
right
to
now.
save money.
yeah, you gonna get out and plow your own road and repair
We
it,
can't get them to do the
micro
culvert.
seal it?
I,
No, they don't do the culverts,
I
that's
have
true.
shoveled my own road.
I have shoveled mine too. because-
Oh, I shovel all the way up to the stop sign. Oh, I mean, it's, yeah, me and my neighbor, yeah.
My road doesn't get plowed anyway, so.
Move to adjourn?
Oh, yeah.
Second.
That's
Yeah.
great. That is a key. 9:01.